McDaniel can't move on it. Now he does. The shot, passing down. Rebound, score!
Hey, welcome to the Tone the Crease podcast, where we talk about anything and everything to do with the NHL. I'm SJ.
WillyDubz here. Hope everyone's doing well. Hockey season is finally close and approaching. So we did our fantasy draft, so we're kind of hyped for this hockey season. Obviously, we were probably going to try to pump out something fantasy hockey related, but it's getting a little bit close to the season, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out. So we might still have some content coming though. So keep an eye out for that.
Right now, it is Saturday. It's day one of the ALDS. The Jays just kicked the shit out of the Yankees. And can I say, okay, I have a question that just, again, general musing. When do you get to the point as a fan where you assume your team's just going to figure it out? So, like, again, the Jays, really good regular season, right? Again, completely out of nowhere. Just destroyed the Yankees game one. Like, everything that could have gone right did go right, right? But as a fan of a Toronto sports team that's been beaten down repeatedly, and a fan of a football team that's been beaten down repeatedly, there's still that, like, mechanism in your mind which doesn't let you automatically go, okay, we're good. Because you're thinking of all the ways it can go wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was gonna say I still feel that way now because I think we in our fantasy baseball group chat I was pointing out, well, they have Fried, Rodon, and then Schlittler going, and I don't like our three coming guys against it. Like, look, I love you, Savage and all, but like you're throwing a rookie who's pitched only 4 games into a playoff series. That seems a little bit nuts. And then who's the Jays? Oh yeah, Bieber, right? Bieber's game 3, and then we're going bullpen game 4. So like,
AKA not Justin, baby.
Yeah, so I'm just like, at this point, like I'm trying to enjoy the moment, but I just, in the back of my mind, I know that something bad could just happen, so I'm just trying not to get too excited. Like,
for sure. But I guess my question is, like, at what point do you get where you're like, you just have the confidence that they figured it out? Do you know what I mean?
Never.
Because I think there are points though where certain fan bases get to that. Like, for example, like, let's use hockey, right? Since, obviously we're a hockey podcast here. Like, if you're a Florida Panthers fan, and this will transition to what we're talking about today, I think you give them the benefit of a doubt that no matter what happens, you give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to figure it out, right? I think Tampa, to an extent as well. Like, I think there's certain teams,
yeah, but I think
certain
there's
sports,
there's a common recipe between all the teams though. They've won it, right? Whereas like at least with all the Toronto sports teams, they haven't won anything. Like apart from the Raptors,
I feel the same way with Dallas too, though. Again, unless something tragically goes wrong, I think at least for the regular season, and are even honestly, I'd argue for parts of playoffs too. I'd be like, hey, like they'll figure it out. I think Dallas, Edmonton.
You're the same guy in Game 7 of last year, first round of Game 7 last year, who was moaning and complaining for two periods of it. Like this team's gonna.
Well, yeah, because they're against another team. I assume will figure it out in Colorado.
And then in the third period, shit happened, and you're all happy and like giggly and giggly and shit.
But I mean, overall, there's certain teams I think you just give the benefit of the doubt to. But like, when do you?
But like with Toronto sports teams, and like I guess in my case, for spoiler alert for those who are wondering which NFL team support, the Buffalo Bills. I'm just at that point where I don't ever get to that point. I'm just like, cool. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Murphy's Law.
But okay, but so it takes them winning a title for
they need to be able to win it, and like I hate to say it, but like they need to win it in circumstances where it's not like the other team didn't just get like hit by a ton of injuries and shit. Like it, for example, like maybe for me it's like the Bill. I'll use the Bills as an example. We'd actually have to beat the Chiefs in the AFC like championship game for me to be like, okay, you actually that's to slay the actual dragon, I guess in this case.
At that point, then no matter what happens, you'll have the confidence that they'll figure it out.
Exactly, because like if anyone's a Bills fan knows, we apparently just get fucked by the Chiefs in the playoffs every single time. Probably could upload that shit to Pornhub at this point, honestly.
It's just one of those things where I just wonder where that point is, because I imagine even if you're like, I think if you're the Dodgers, even to a lesser extent the Phillies, I think in the playoffs, I think there's certain teams where even if the Dodgers lost game 1 today, which they made an amazing comeback, I think the people would have just brushed off and been like, okay, they'll figure it out. I feel that way with, again, I think Florida and Tampa I feel that even Carolina hasn't won a cup, but I feel like in the regular season, while they basically don't have a number two center, and we talked about this, I think their system is such where I'm like, yeah, they'll figure it out. They'll get there. I just again I don't know what that point is. I don't know if it's like consistent regular season dominance or if it takes again if it takes you going far in the playoffs or if it takes you winning the cup to be like they'll figure it out. But I just have that confidence in. I just want to know when that confidence hits because again, as a Toronto Blue Jays fan, that hasn't hit me yet. Like it just hasn't.
Well, I don't think it will.
Every time,
everyone always trolls
even
us
when
about
something
that.
good.
Remember the Seattle game because we watched that one at Big Rig together. Like we watched that meltdown unfold like for us, right? So I think we always think back to that, or like the fact that they haven't been able to win a playoff game essentially since until today. They hadn't won one since like what 2016. Like I think it was the ALCS against Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, ALDS. No, ALDS. It might have been ALDS, but I could be wrong. Anyways.
No, the ALCS against Cleveland was the last.
Oh, it was CS. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just for me, I just wonder where that point hits because it hasn't hit me yet. It definitely hasn't hit me as like a Panthers fan. But with the Stars, there is that, again, there are times where you're like, oh, fuck, like this feels over. But like, again, even last year versus the Oilers, like after game 2, I was in my head, I was just like, they're just hopelessly outclassed for some reason here. But I think if injuries were to happen at a certain point in the regular season, you're just like, okay, they'll figure it out. Even again against certain teams, like that Winnipeg series just felt horrible. But I'm like, okay, it's Winnipeg. Like they'll figure it out. Like that's legit how I felt during the Winnipeg series. Again, Colorado's a little bit different because Colorado has Hughes and has Makar and McKinnon. But I don't know. I just wonder when that point hits. Like when because. Like, I don't know. It must feel so nice,
to like be blissfully just
like
feel it kind of thing.
The Philadelphia Eagles in football. Sorry, I know I keep going on about this, but like the Eagles in football, it's like right now Jalen Hurts has not the passing game has not been effective, but they're undefeated, and the prevailing assumption is they look good? No, but they'll figure it out.
But they're winning too. Yeah, I don't know.
The Chiefs, same thing. Right? It's like they look so unimpressive, and it's like, oh, don't worry. Like, you just believe in the infrastructure. They'll figure it out.
Well, again, I think
I just want that. I want that.
Common thing with those teams is they've won and done it, right? So I feel like once you
I guess that's what it is. They just have to win it once for you. I just want that as a fan, and like any point in my fandom, that bliss of they'll figure it out.
Fam, we're from Toronto, bro. We're never gonna get that feeling.
Oh no. Okay, there's like a beat down. There's a beat down level of fandom. Like the closest I've come to it, I think, is with the Stars, where they'll lose certain players, certain things go in and out, and I'm like, okay, obviously.
As a Toronto sports fan, I can name a bunch of instances essentially where like you just got your shit beat out. Like obviously with the Jays, we always reference that game against Seattle, the 8-1 lead that we blew. I would say the Raptors, like whenever we went against LeBron and the Cavs, that's probably that. And then I think there was that one TFC year where I think they got to the finals, didn't allow a single shot on
lost,
a shot target, and lost in penalties. Yeah. So although they did eventually beat Seattle to get it, but anyway, I think a year after, or 2 years after, I forget exactly. I think it was the year after actually, but. So they ended up coming back next year to win it. But essentially the point is when you're a Toronto sports fan, just nothing ever goes. You'll never have that feeling of like, oh, we got this.
Until, again, I think the overall assumption is a team has to win it once for you to believe they have it figured out. And exactly. I think it has to be with the same nucleus of guys. Because I think, for example, like St. Louis now, you don't believe they have it figured out even though they won a cup X amount of years ago because it's a completely different group of guys.
Yeah, different coaching staff, a different set of. There's some guys that are still there, but like a bigger, like there's a lot of guys that have left, right? And even I was gonna even joke, even though like for example, Toronto FC won the year after, like I think to be fair, they blew up the team shortly after, so that kind of I guess you don't really have the belief if the team also doesn't stay intact after too, right? So I guess there's that to it as well.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I guess even if you're an Oilers fan to an extent, you'll believe they figured it out at least through the regular season. But in the playoffs.
And then right into the Cup Finals, you think they figured it out. And then once you're in the Cup Finals, you're like, oh,
same with the Leafs. Like even we'll talk about it in our division preview. Like I think they're fine in the regular season. It's just the playoffs are its own. I want to say if you're a Leafs fan, I feel like you just want to fast forward the regular season and just get to the playoffs, really, because otherwise it's just like weird foreplay right up until the climax point, which is the
you
playoffs.
tease in, and then you feel massively disappointed.
All right, so we talked about Florida and Toronto to transition to our podcast topic today, which is the Atlantic Division. Again, we did the Pacific, we did the Metro. To me, the second best division, and I think it's firmly second best with the Barkov injury. Now, I will say the Barkov injury definitely changed my rankings, not substantially, but did change it a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, I had the same issue too. I had it done before, and then the Barkov injury I had to reevaluate after the Barkov injury.
Like, where are you slotting this team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's jump into it. First question: who did you have in last? Because it's one of two teams for me.
Boston.
Okay,
Boston.
Yeah, same. Okay, how excited are you as a Leafs fan that we can just slot Boston last unanimously and not think twice about it?
I guess to me it doesn't matter because you just have to deal with Florida. I guess
it's like one head of the Hydra came off, and then the Panthers grew in its place.
And then two more. Well, I guess in this case, the Hydra usually two more grow back, right? I guess in this case only one more grew back, but an even worse one grew. Because I'll put it this way: even though you lost to Boston, yes, it was at least heartbreaking, but it was hard fought. Those Panther series don't ever feel close. Even though last year got to Game 7, for those who saw Game 7, it just felt Game 7 just felt hopelessly out of it just got hopelessly out of reach real quick. It didn't feel close. Even though it was a 7-game series, it didn't feel close.
Also, Boston didn't dominate everybody else to the level that Florida's been doing. So, I agree. Florida is just a whole different beast. But I will say, I'm sure there's some Leafs Schadenfreude that actually enjoys watching Boston on this down period. Who knows, honestly, how long it might take them to get out of this. But let's dive into them a bit. Because I think this will take a while. This is one of the most offensively challenged teams in the league, without question. If you look at every offensive metric last year, it speaks to this. Let me just break this down. 28th in goals for, 29th in shots for, 32nd in expected goals for, 29th in high danger chances for, 29th on the power play. This there's nothing you can look at and be like, this is good. And the worst part is this doesn't get better. They might have the worst collection of offensive finishers spread throughout some of the lines. Elias Lindholm cannot finish. Pavel Zacha cannot finish. Some of the worst finishers. And you know what they did to compound this? Guess who they signed in the offseason? Tanner Jeannot, another guy who can't finish.
I was gonna joke. He fits their physical MO, but he doesn't really fit the we need scoring MO, right? So I was also gonna point out too.
Outside of Pasternak, there is no finishing in this top 9. None. Non-existent.
I was gonna say Pasternak finished with 49 more points than the next guy in scoring on their team, and I think it was Geeky, right? And even with Geeky, who had 33 goals, I think a lot of us are saying that he's gonna regress too because I think he has a higher shooting percentage.
Shooting percentage was
so
insane.
If his numbers go down even further, let's just say Pasternak. I don't want to say Pasternak's a lock for 100, but let's say he just gets to 100, right? And let's say Geeky has some regression, and I don't know, maybe if Lindholm has some I don't know. Even my point is this 49-point gap between the two guys could get even bigger next year, and it might get to the point where I low-key think teams might just start putting two guys on Pasternak and just being okay, well, let's see what the rest of you schmucks can do.
No, it's frightening how bad. And if for anyone that thought maybe Pasternak was a product of a system to an extent, last year debunked it. Last year debunked it 100%. There's some playmaking, yes, but outside of that, there was very little support for him. This team to even be remotely competent, not even good, just not near dead last and everything. They either need Lindholm to bounce back or Middlestat to step up. Because you remember last year, Lindholm was not working as a first-line center. They put him on the third line at a lot of points, sometimes on the second line. They shuffled him everywhere, and it just wasn't working. I think he's first line by default, but I wouldn't be surprised if Middlestat took over if it continues to look as bad as it did. I just don't see what the upside is, and truthfully, it doesn't seem like the I honestly think their future first line center is James Higgins. He's not even on the roster, so a lot of this offensive
I
talent
was
just
gonna
kind of
joke.
feels like
Is that James Higgins' song coming on? I was like, 'cause I think he's genuinely their like. I mean, he's probably their center of the future, right? Like, there's nobody else in the system, and whatever's on the roster right now, they've literally tried everybody. I don't want to say they tried everybody in this roster. Like, they tried Zach there, it didn't work. Apparently, he's good at everything else but fucking scoring. They tried Lindholm there, didn't work. It's funny because I think we thought he'd be a really good signing for Boston. Apparently, just hasn't. Apparently, that's I guess another thing we were wrong about. And then Middlestat didn't look great in Colorado. I don't think he somehow just refigures it out here. So, like, if those three don't work, your other options are Fraser Minton or Sean Corrali, and I think I'm good without those options. Thank you very much.
no, this team's just not, and there's not a lot of wing talent to help offset it. Yes, Geeky was good last year, but again, all metrics indicate that he's probably going to regress.
Yes.
Because of the shooting percentage and the lack of shots and where he shot from as well. Pasternak's the only one I really see as like Geeky could be 20 goals, but I'd say Pasternak's the only probably 30 plus guy on this
30, 40,
roster.
in that range.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is when I go to the defense, there's not that playmaking or like catalyst that a lot of other teams have. Defensively, they're fine. I think like having a healthy Hampus Lindholm will be massive because he only played 17-ish games last year, I believe. And if him and McAvoy can both be healthy, now McAvoy being healthy is a stretch because every year he's hurt.
He's always
last year
he always gets hurt. Like I think last year was weird too because I think between the shoulder injury and then the injection that like and the infection that happened, like again, like I always joke McAvoy always finds these random ways to like miss a ton of games. Apparently, random infection in his shoulder. I don't even know how that happened. Team USA doctors.
But like he only played 50 games. Lindholm only played 17. But when Zadorov and McAvoy were actually together, while McAvoy's defensive play has gone down a bit, he would still their pairing together was still pretty good. And I think having Lindholm there steadies it, especially because Lowry, while he has potential, has been both inconsistent offensively and defensively. And when he had to play basically line one, power play one with McAvoy out, you kind of saw his limitations, which it's fair. It's not his time, right? But I think he could settle in as like a decent second pairing defenseman for now. Yeah. So I think the defense
he was minus 40. He was like minus 43 last year too. I don't like to typically look at plus minus, but like that's an all time. That's like Rasmus Ristolainen levels bad.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I think again, kind of going back to a role he's more suited for, at least for now, will be helpful. I think, and pairing him with Lindholm potentially would be really good for him. Because that's the other thing too. Again, not having that guy like Lindholm that helps cover up those mistakes. So I think the defense will be a bit better. And the defense wasn't horrible. Yes, they were 26th in goals against, but a lot of that was on the goaltending. Again, they were 18th in shots against, 16th in expected goals against. Like they're not the old Boston. Yeah, they're not the old. They're not
top 10. They're not top 10. They're not like top 10 expected goals against and top 10 high major chances against kind of defense. But like they're not the worst. They're like middle. They're basically middle of the league.
It's not the Chera, Seidenberg, Krejci, Bergeron era Bruins, but they're decent enough. I think the other like you would just like a little bit more playmaking and a little bit more scoring because again, McAvoy's not that guy. Lowry's numbers last year, while better, were a bit inflated because he was played out of position, and Lindholm's just not that guy. So you would like a little bit more there, but it kind of is what it is. The other question comes down to like, will Swayman bounce back? Now, here's the thing, right? There's two ways you can look at this. One, again, he didn't get signed till late. He came into camp late. He didn't play the preseason. Again, behind, I'd say a lot of new faces, and it didn't look good. And neither did Korpisalo, right? Now, one argument you can make is now he's going to have a full camp, he's going to have a full offseason, he's going to come in as the one. It'll be better. And I think that's what I lean towards. Will he be elite like he was with Ullmark? Probably not, but I think it'll be definitely better than it was last year. Now, the other thing you can fall...
There's the other take. Well, there's also the other take that I've seen thrown around, which I'm not a fan of this take, but a lot of people are saying it's not that he was the product of the system, but like obviously with Boston's like you've been kind of Boston's defense is you kind of been chipping away at it over the years, right? It's not the same top 10 level. Like obviously a lot of people are saying, well, with that dipping, his numbers aren't going to be that great. I don't believe that so much. Like yes, his numbers should get a little bit worse. Like you don't go from having a top 10 defense in front of you to like a middle of the league defense and still having the same numbers, right? It's gonna dip a little bit, right? But like I don't think he was eight like not even 900 save percentage kind of bad.
Yeah, exactly. I think the question I have with him, and like last year at least, I'll give him this. Because the question I always had with Swayman was how much volume can he do? Because again, prior to last year, 44 starts was the maximum, right? But last year he played 58 despite not playing in the preseason and not having a training camp. So like I don't have a question as much on the volume this year, and I do think he bounces back. And again, it's just for me with this team, if Swayman bounces back, Lindholm and McAvoy are both relatively healthy, the defense should and the goal suppression should be fine. Again, there's just not enough offense on this team. And in a division like this, it really punishes you in the standings. So for me, we have them last year. And honestly, until this offense improves, it's probably going to be last for the foreseeable future.
I was gonna joke. I don't even think Hagen's coming in and playing well would save this offense. That's how bad it is. Like
that's why I thought Zegras would have been an interesting trade move for them, just to like again just add another upside guy. But I guess highest bidder probably wins out there. But he would have been an interesting move. But overall, yeah, there's like Casey Middlestat isn't saving this offense. My X factor
it's funny too because like I thought maybe they trade for Zegras too because Zegras actually played at BU, right? He played at BU as well, so like he played in their backyards. I think like they probably still have the scouting reports on him somewhere, right? Like it's not they didn't just
if there's one thing we know after the Oliver Wahlstrom signing last year, if you were remotely affiliated with Massachusetts in any way, the Bruins will sign you. Like they'll give you a chance.
Also with the Wahlstrom case too, I don't know if you remember, but there's that clip on YouTube that keeps floating around. Like him when he was 9, like he participated in a shootout at Boston Garden, and he did that. I don't know if you want to pull up I don't know if you've seen the clip, but that shootout goal where he we Google it after. It's pretty sick for a 9-year-old. I'd say like you're pretty to pull that kind of move off. So I don't know. I always joke like if you've played in Boston for any little bit, even if you're a kid, apparently they'll just yoink.
They'll find you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The dream of like Cam Neely and Don Sweeney's wet dream is to have a bunch of Massachusetts-related guys lead them to a cup. That is like the wet dream of the Bruins organization right now.
And the second closest thing is just drafting guys that have played in the area. Yeah. That's the second closest thing
they get to. The fact that James Hagen slipped and was good, and he went to Boston College, like you knew. The minute he fell near them, they were taking him. But yeah, overall, like my X factor here is Elias Lindholm. Like, just again, I don't think this is anywhere near a playoff team, but can you at least make this contract look somewhat salvageable? Because right now it is him or Huberdeau for worst contract in the NHL. Can you make this somewhat salvageable? Like, can he at least be a second line quality center in terms of production?
Is it weird that I somehow think that his contract is worse, even though like Huberdeau gets paid like 4.5 like or 4 million more, just because like Huberdeau at least looks like a competent like forward, like scoring forward. Like, he's not first line, but he looks like you at least score like at a second line pace, whereas Lindholm just can't even score at like can barely score at a third line or second line pace at that point. I don't know.
I mean, they're both really bad. I just like, at least Lindholm's good defensively is the theory, whereas like Huberdeau is still meh. I don't know. They're both really bad. But he scores.
I think it's one of those where it swings. It kind of swings in different directions. Like one scores a bit more, one just is just better defense. I don't know. It's pretty awful contract.
Also, like, it's just to me, it's can he get out of that tier and can he be better? Because if he's what he was last year, this is a sleeper team again to finish as the worst team in the league.
Wait, yeah.
Because you do need some level of scoring to get you through the regular season.
Sorry, I was just looking up where Penn. I was just trying to figure out Penn. I was gonna say Gavin McKenna, you're a Boston Bruin, but I was like, he didn't play at B. I was gonna say if he went to Boston College, I was like, maybe this
Penn
is
State, right?
Yeah, Penn State. I know he went to Penn State. I was like, is it at least even close to Boston? No, I'm not good with geography if anyone's wondering. So
they're called Penn State. They're in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I figured, but like that's what I figured. But to be fair, there's some weird ones though. I've noticed some weird like. There's a lot of those colleges.
Miami of Ohio? Like what?
No, but there are a couple weird ones I've seen, at least from the football side, that are like, at least from what I hear, I'm like, oh wait, That doesn't make sense. Wait, let me find
what?
one. Hold on. Pennsylvania State. Okay,
Miami of Ohio is a weird one, but at least they tell you ahead of time.
Yeah, but that's why.
where
But,
they're
like,
from.
that's not the one I was thinking of. But like again, that's kind of highlights my point. It's like Miami and Ohio. It doesn't add up, right?
All right, pull it up. Let's hear the argument.
Wait, hold on. Let me
Like
find.
what team?
I gotta
Give me an example.
hold on. I need to. To be fair, this is a lot of the lower college football. It's not the D1 programs. It's usually the D2 ones. Hold on. Division 2 teams. There you go. Wait. Let's see. I love how of all times when I pulled this up, it's all just like the exact place, and then like the Miami one was the only one you could randomly think of. Ugh, feels bad. Here, I'm trying to pull this up here.
To be fair, I wouldn't even have known of Miami of Ohio if not for Ben Roethlisberger. Let's see.
Is that actually where he went?
Yeah.
Is it just me, or is it like a lot of the NFL, a lot of the players back then went to like some of the weird, like some of the weirder schools? Like I know Rodgers went to like Cal, right?
Well,
or like was it Berkeley? Or
Cal was good back then.
Oh, they were good back then. Okay, I thought it was just a weird school because like I'm so used to like
I think it was Cal had Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch on the same team, man.
And then wait, and then what happened? What happened to their program after that? Did it just fall apart or?
They had this one coach who was really good, Jeff Tedford. I think he left, and then like that's the thing with college football is like when you don't adequately replace coaches and like they stop getting the funding. Sometimes it creates issues.
Fair enough.
Because also you need like boosters to keep investing into the program, and I don't think Cal has that level of booster. As like the oil states and stuff like that, right? So we're unable to find.
No. You know what? You know what I was thinking about? This might be what I was thinking. Like it's all the weird schools that have state in their name, but none of them are actually states. Like that's the one I was thinking of. I think that's what I was mistaken.
Like Moorhead State, one of my favorite names.
No, like Weber. Like I was thinking Weber State, for example, because like that's where like Dame. I think that's where
Damian Lillard went. Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's all like this. It's like I think there's one like state of like there's a couple like state of Portland. Like there was like a state of Portland one, and there's a couple of weird ones. But like I think I was thinking of that. I was just like, oh, they're not actually like states. I mean, yes, they're not. It's not that they're different places, but it's like it's not actually a state kind of thing. It's like.
I don't know where this is going. I don't know.
Okay, anyways, whatever. Okay, we can move on.
Moving on. Yeah, I got nothing there. All right, moving on to the next team. My second last team, I had Detroit. Because I kind of talked about.
It's funny. I actually pushed Buffalo ahead of them. I was gonna pick Buffalo,
I did too.
But then I did too. And then I was like thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? I might just want to bet on the talent, honestly.
For me, I talk about this again. I don't think you have to be offensively elite, but you do have to have some offense to sustain you through the regular season. And that's where I kind of fall short with Detroit. Because I would say, to me, the issue with Detroit is they're kind of a worse Montreal in a way, I would say. No, actually not a worse Montreal. I'd say like a poor man's Colorado, where like we always have with Colorado is depth scoring. And I have the same question with this team. Like, can this team generate enough depth scoring and defensive depth? Because they don't have it. Like, if you look at this team too last year, by all arguments, they overperformed. Because offensively, again, it's very similar to... It's not as bad as Boston, but it's similar. Like, 22nd in goals for, 24th in shots for, 24th in expected goals against, 26th in high danger chance for. This was not a good offensive team. However, anytime you look at the numbers and you watch the eye test as well, Larkin, Raymond, and insert player here, especially when they put DeBrincat there, is a really good first line. But the problem is they need more than that, and the bottom six is just a mess scoring-wise. There has not been a second-line center to hit 60 points on this team in, like, forever. But the thing is, because as good as Larkin and Raymond are, they're not like an elite, they're not like a McKinnon, McKinnon insert two guys here. They need whoever that second line center is to be a 70-point player for this offense to be remotely competent. And in this case, they need Casper to be like a 70-point player, which is a lot to ask.
I was gonna say too,
for a guy who hasn't shown that yet.
They actually moved DeBrincat down last year, down the lineup too, because they were trying. I guess like the argument was they were trying to split it up. Trying to split it up and get more scoring from like the other lines, right? Because a lot of the times it was just Larkin, Raymond getting the points. Like Casper was a good player, but he wasn't like putting up a ton of points. And then Kane at this point in his career, like his point output's kind of
just a power play guy.
Yeah. He's a power play guy, and it's slowly declining, right? Like obviously they had the 4th ranked power play, so Kane was still able to get a ton of points. But at 5-on-5, they weren't getting very much out of him.
Exactly, and I think the issue is they need Casper to be that guy, because ideally you do want to play Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat together, but if that second line's not producing, you have to shift him down, which hurts the peak of this team. And then on defense, like they don't really have an elite defensive scorer. And I will say, Seider and Edvinsson's probably their best defensive pairing. And honestly, if you look at, again, numbers and eye test, like they held their own playing really tough minutes. But last year, because of the lack of defensive depth, they had to split them. And when they did, they put Sherratt with Seider, which was like a disaster for Seider. By everything you could look at, it was a disaster for Mo Seider.
And it's funny too, because they according to Daily Faceoff, they still have Sherratt there with Seider.
They have no choice right now. Yeah,
they don't have they have no choice. But like at this point, like I'm not gonna lie, I'd rather just risk like bringing up ASP, like Axel. I'd rather just risk bringing up Axel, Sandy, Pellica, and just saying screw it. Because like at this point, like
I'd honestly just keep them together and say fuck it. Whatever happens to the other 4 happens. Because the defense, aside from these two, it's a combination of like unproven with Bernard Docker and I think it's Samuels. Not sorry, I'm blanking on the name off the top of my head. But
Gustafsson is Gustafsson because he's on the third.
No, Gustafsson. No, it's a combination of unproven or not very good. Gustafsson's the not very good because he's basically a power play specialist who's not playing the line 1 power play, so I don't know why he's there. And Albert Johansson, sorry, that's who I'm blanking on. But Johansson and Bernard Docker are a combination of unproven. Gustafsson and Sherratt are the not very good. And Seider and Edvinsson are what need to be. And I think
it's
that's
funny
like the future of this team. They had
Hold there too. They also had Justin Hall there at one point too. Like, and then they finally
no one needs Justin Hall.
They finally did the right thing and sent his ass down to the AHL. Thank God. I don't know how it took them that long to realize to do that. But I think that's what I was trying to argue. Too. Is like I'd rather just keep Edvinsson and Seider together, and I just say fuck it, just bring up Sandin Pellica, like just and then like
I don't even say bring it. Don't even need to bring anyone up. Just leave them. I don't care. Like
no, but I'd say at this point you might as well. Like, you might as well bring... Because, like, your second pairing is so fucked to begin with. You might as well just give Sandy and Pellica the minutes and just see what you got. And I think, to be fair, they are planning to do that, right? Because I think they're down to... I did have a read at what was going on in their training camp. They're down to 25 skaters. And I think of the 25 skaters, I think Sandy and Pellica, Brandsen Nygaard, who was, I think, their first-round pick from a few years ago. And there's this... I think the seventh-rounder named Emmett Finney or whatever his name is. I think those are the 3... guys, one of those or 2 of those 3 guys may end up getting cut, but it does seem like they might give Sandy and Pellica the run. So I'm curious to see if they.
The only thing I'm curious is because they do always over marinate their prospects, and that's been a thing since even before Yzerman took over. I remember they always keep their guys, and ASP's only played 2 games in Grand Rapids, so I don't know if he's gonna be up yet. But overall, even regardless of if you bring him up, I would just let Edvinsson, because they've made it clear, like, the argument you always hear from Red Wings fans is, well, you know, we don't care about these other guys, like these other parts, because they're not parts of the future. So if you don't care, if that's the argument, why should you hinder both Edvinsson and Seider? Just play them together and say, fuck it. Because, no offense, this team's not a playoff team with the depth they have right now. And honestly, it's not like their defense was much better either last year. Like, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't say much better. Like, it was better, but it wasn't great either. Like, they were still... Again, 21st in shots against, 23rd in high danger chances. A lot
of it was Cam Talbot playing out of his mind. Like that kind of kept them. I think when they went on that stretch where they were holding the either the first wild card or the last wild card spot, I think a lot of it was like Talbot keeping it together and a bunch of their guys who had gotten hot at that time. And then after that, it all kind of just everything kind of just went to shit. And then obviously they fell out of the wild card and then they just ended up missing the playoffs.
Remember when they beat the Isles despite only having 10 shots on goal?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Because Cam Talbot played out of his mind. Or was
Yes.
it? It was less than 10 or I can't remember. But it was. But that's what this team was, and they were riding a really unsustainable power play. Because when you look, and we've talked about this time and time again, when you look at teams that generally have the top power plays in the league, if I go through this here quickly, they're usually teams that have very good offensive profiles. So Winnipeg, Vegas, New Jersey. Okay, this is outside of Detroit because Detroit finished fourth. Winnipeg, Vegas, New Jersey, Tampa, Pittsburgh, who is again bad defensively but good offensively, and then it's like Chicago, Colorado, Toronto, Utah. Outside of Chicago and Detroit, and then if I go down from 11, 12, and 13, it's like Ottawa, Edmonton, Washington, Florida, right? Like again,
Yeah,
normally
everyone,
teams with very
everyone with a good power play is pretty much like the teams with good offense, like good offensive players or like elite offensive talent is essentially the summary of that.
right. Again, Detroit being the only exception. So for me right now, like this team just doesn't have the depth enough, and because they're forced to play guys in their non-optimal positions, it also hurts their scoring as well. So that's why I have them. And the problem is, unless Sider hits a year that we're just not, because again, I think he's a good overall defenseman, but he reminds me like of what Charlie McAvoy kind of is. But again, the problem with McAvoy is he doesn't have that offensive upside that like Hughes, Makar, Werenski, potentially Harley, Yossi, like guys like that do. So
They have the same
there's
kind
kind
of
of an
they
issue.
have the same kind of trajectory, right? Same kind of trajectory, but like minus like obviously Sider hasn't been hurt
Yeah.
as much as McAvoy has, but like same kind of offensive output, right? Because Sider's like good for like 40 to like 50 something points, and that's kind of
Mhm.
roughly in the McAvoy range, right? So
Yeah, and they both play tough minutes. They're not sheltered. Yeah, exactly. Um, for me, yeah, I just can't see this team generating enough scoring on their depth side to just make the gap up for what they need to be. I think this is another year of missed playoffs for them. The X factor here, again, we talked about this before. We talked about this on
Casper,
the previous pod.
yeah,
Has to be Marco
Casper.
Casper.
Well, we
If the
said he was a
ghost,
swing player for them, right? Because like the whole point
yeah,
is they need a second line center, and if he doesn't fill that role, and he like they basically don't have a second line because Kane's kind of just a
yeah,
walking corpse now. And like, sure, maybe then them having to move to bring Cat down to that line hurts them even more, right? And if the rest of that line's gonna be shit, like it's gonna hurt to bring Cat too.
and don't get me wrong, and also Casper was interesting because he did have a good second half. He was a pretty decent second half last year, but it still only finished at around like 0.56 points per game off the top of my head, like in that range. So I mean, it's not like again, it wasn't like it was a
Do we know his
torrid.
stats from that second half of the year? That is because like again, like
Yeah,
it depends
I can
because
pull this up. One second.
I think it does depend on how he started. Because if he started the year at like point one or like 0.2 points per game, 0.3 like really low output, and he got it up to 0.5 like 0.56. I'd have to assume his second half was like pretty good at least.
Yeah, I can pull this up. One second. But yeah, no. Overall, I think overall the issue is just he has to. But here's the thing: he has to take a leap to around like a 70 point guy for this team to even have a shot at the playoffs, right? Like that's the issue. And also
Yeah,
the other thing
you're
too
basically
is
asking him to go from 0.56 to like 0.85 essentially. Like, and that's
mhm,
just that's such a big leap for. The problem is Casper's not really like a elite offensive player either, right? Like, yes, he's a top. Like, he was a top. I think he was a top 10 pick in his draft year, but
so the
he's
issue is like he had months with spurts. So January had 12 points in 14 games, but then February was 4 points in 8 games. March 7 points in 14. He closed the year out with 7 points in 9 games. So again, it's very inconsistent. Where he had moments where it was really good, like, and moments where it just wasn't. So again, it just comes down to like where he ends up. Because if it's not 70 points, if it's like not 65, 70, I don't know where this team's getting offense from outside of Larkin, Raymond, and insert guy here, and then like obviously DeBrincat and Kane on the power play,
the problem
and
is
Kane
I
on the
think the
second
problem is
line.
the Red Wings need him to take too big of a leap. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah,
Like it's not realistic. Like you can't go from 0.56 to point 0.8 and point. And he's also not. He doesn't have the talent, I think, to do that either. It's not like he's not gifted offensively where you can okay yeah sure you pair him with like a better line mate like DeBrincat and suddenly his points go up like sure I think you go up to 0.6 like 0.65 or even 0.7 but I think that's as good as it gets from there.
yeah, no, exactly. So that's why ahead of them, I put Buffalo. Look, like we know the story, we know the jokes, we know everything with Buffalo, but it's like the talent is there. And again, can this team just finally put it together somewhat? Like you look at the numbers on this team, like they were pretty decent offensively. The issue was defensively. Like they were 10th in goals for, 10th in high danger chances for, again, 20th in shots for, 20th expected goals for. But like the talent is on this team. Like Benson, Kulich, and Thompson were, when they played together, was elite. It's just it was a very small sample size, and I don't know if they're going to start. They're not starting the season together, but I think eventually that's where it ends up. The wing talent on this team is really good. Like you have Tage, you have Tuck, Benson, and then you have Quinn and Zucker on the third line. It's an embarrassment of riches where I don't agree with the return they got for JJ Paterka, but I kind of understand the idea of trading from a strength to try to address
trading from a position of strength to improve a position of weakness, right? Because like their defense has been, I don't want to say it's been what's essentially sinking them, but like they've at least had elite, like they've at least had some, like they had Thompson who's at least an elite offensive player, but like he just, apart from Dallin on defense, like the rest, their defensive play as a whole has just been absolutely atrocious, and it does no favors for Pekka Luukkonen.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, look at this team. Like the wings, again, you have Tage on the first line, you have Tuck on the second line. You're probably going to have Benson on the first line as well. Like that's a really solid grouping. Quinn might be second or third line, but he shows flashes. And Zucker was, well, I don't think it's sustainable, was good for them last year. The centers are interesting because it'll work if Kulich or Norris can be a solid 1C. And Norris has shown potential to be a 1C before.
Now, the problem with Josh Norris is he just can't stay healthy to save his life. Like, I swear it's always his shoulder. Like, I think his shoulder is one of the worst, low-key one of the worst shoulders I've heard of in the NHL, because it gets hurt every single year. And it's always, I don't know if it's like separated or like something happened. Essentially, he gets hurt. He gets a big enough shoulder injury where he misses a decent chunk of games. And I think they have him at center right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating because when he plays, he's really good. And like, if him or Kulich can be that one seed, because McLeod last year was really good as a third line center. He was like the perfect third line center you can ask for. But the issue is right now he kind of has to be your second line center because we don't know with Kulich, and again with Norris it's the health issue. But like, I look at Josh Norris's numbers when he's healthy. Like that 1 year with Ottawa where he was 0.83 is kind of what you kind of see the ceiling being for him. So I'm just kind of curious to see what happens there.
Now the problem is he hasn't played more than 56 games in a season since that. And I think
exactly.
even the joke was when Buffalo traded for him last year, he played 3 games for them before he was ruled out for the rest of the year. So,
but if Kulich or Norris can be a 1C, like this lineup works. So now you have one of them at first line center. You can put the other one at second, and then McLeod at third, and it works. It just comes down to like which one of them will be that, and if they can be that. Again, I did like the Kulich, Benson, Thompson trio. You can make the argument that yes, Buffalo was eliminated by the time they got cooking, but it was good, and other teams had to play for stuff too, right? But
yeah. And I think also if you being able to move Thompson away out of the center position is really good too, because like Thompson's just not a good like face-off guy in general, and like forcing him to play like, and he's more of a shooter, right? Like he's got a great shot. So like ideally you don't, a lot of the times you want your center to do the playmaking, right? So you don't want Thompson doing both the playmaking and the shooting. So like having a guy alongside him that can do that and being able to shift him to the wing and having, you know, maybe someone who's better adept at taking those face-offs or like just I guess a better center overall will help too, right? Because I think Thompson's a really good winger. I just don't think he's suited to play center.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is, so again, to me, the offense, there are some ifs, but overall, if some of those ifs are answered, this offense will be fine. The defense has just way too many holes.
Ifs with some talent. Yeah. Ifs, but has some talent at least. So at least you can't complain about that. And then the defense, if you want to talk about that.
The defense just has too many holes outside of Dallin and Byram's a fine pairing. Dallin's really good. Like, people don't understand how good Rasmus Dallin is. If it wasn't for his team being bad, we talk about him on that, maybe not on the Makar Hughes tier, but that tier right below that. He's there. That Werenski, Heiskanen more two-way game, but like that tier of that next guy, he is there. It's just outside of that Dallin Byram pairing last year, the Buffalo defense was horrible. Now, I will say, Kesselring was solid defensively, and he should help shelter Power's defensive inefficiencies, because if we watch Owen Power, just gets caught out of position a lot. And it kind of makes sense too because he's a young player and defensemen take time to develop. But Kesselring should help. So again, the defense in theory should be better than they were last year. The one main issue I have with this team is now that UPL is out, this team's gonna bear in mind this is a year where Kevin Adams probably has to make the playoffs to keep his job.
His goaltending duo is Alex Ryan and Alexander Georgiev, who, by the way, was so bad that he was so bad to the point that Colorado just said fuck it and shipped him out. Like, they didn't even wait till the trade deadline. They were just like, fuck it. I think it was like November. Was it like November? They just said fuck it. Let's get they just made the move for Blackwood and just dumped his ass to San Jose. And I'm not gonna lie, I can't believe he has a backup position in this.
I'm surprised he's employed.
No, that's what I mean. I'm surprised he has a backup position. Let alone I thought he was KHL bound.
I just saw this and I was like, there's no way. At least bring up Devin Levi from Rochester or something. At least give yourself some. But this team is.
Now, here's my question. Does that say a lot about the lack of faith in Devin Levi? Because it's so you'd have
to think so, right?
You'd rather bring in Alexander Georgiev than call up Devin Levi. And remember, this is the guy you got in the Reinhardt trade that you thought would be your goalie. You thought could be your goalie of the future if UPL didn't work out. Because they were, even though he's a 7th round pick, there were a lot of people who were hyping him.
It's crazy to me. I just don't. I don't get it. And again, this is a year where you think, in theory, some of these guys need to make the playoffs to keep their job, and this is what you're rolling with. They couldn't have signed Reimer, who was actually better than UPL for the last month and a half of the year last year too. You couldn't sign him back. You had to go with George of all people.
I was gonna say Reimer ended up going to the Leafs on a tryout. He was available. He was still available even up to I think maybe a week or two ago. And no, you decided that Alexander Georgiev was a better option than fucking James Reimer.
And as spotty as UPL can be, it's nothing compared to what Georgiev is. And for me, that's what hurts this team initially. Is I don't know how long UPL is going to be out for, or when he comes back. But if this is the duo you're going to go with to start the year, you might dig. And again, it's a defense that outside of Dahlin and Byram is going to take some time to get adjusted. I don't know how much room for error you're going to have once he comes back. And even when UPL comes back, it's not like you're getting Connor Hellebuck back. Heck, it's not even like you're getting Joey Decord back. You're UPL is just, again, he's a streaky, inconsistent goalie. He's just better than what there is now.
Yeah, and I think back to the whole point about Byram too. I don't know if it's just weird. I know you have faith in the Dahlin Byram pairing, but maybe it's just me. But Bowen Byram's one of those players where you see the skill and the talent there with him, but then when he's on the ice, his team just isn't playing well. I don't know if you've seen chunks of that, or if you looked at the stats behind that.
I'll say this: I don't know how much of it is Dahlin on his own versus. It's probably a fair amount, Dahlin, but Byram's fine. He's not. I don't think he can carry a line by himself, but I think he's good supplementary.
Well, that's the thing. I was actually looking because I saw this tweet that was posted a few months ago, and it kind of made me think today because I ended up going back to it. It's tweeted by the guy named Jay Fresh. He's Bowen Byram has one of the biggest gaps between skill and actual impact on the ice I can remember. And I think that, and honestly, I'm all for that tweet because you see the talent, you know how talented he is, but then when he's on the ice, he's just. I'm not saying he's not. According to every advanced metric, he's just ass, apparently. And even the eye test is one of those. Even the eye test kind of justifies that. So I'm a little bit worried about pairing him with Dahlin. I kind of would prefer to keep Dahlin away from him. But I guess with Samuelson being out
together,
right now,
they're. But it probably is Dahlin doing a lot of the lifting there.
Yeah. So.
I think with Kesselring though, you'd rather keep him on
with power. You have to keep him with power because
yeah.
power's the more inconsistent one, right? Whereas see, this is kind of how I feel with when it was with Hedman and Ruda in Tampa. I hated the idea of pairing Hedman with fucking Jan Ruda at that time.
But I
kind of feel this
because where else were you going to put him? Yeah,
exactly. That's the problem. It's the same thing with Byram's. Where else are you going to put him, right?
I think the thing with Byram is just you always see the flashes of talent, so it's you always assume maybe he's a bit better than he is. But,
yeah, and the other thing too is he has a concussion. He has history of concussions too, which is not again.
And you see the moments where it looks like it's coming together because it does look really good at times. It's just again, can it be consistent? And I will say, again, at least pairing him with Dolan, like that pairing is by all advanced metrics is fine on its own. It's just the issue is when you bleed down. But if Kesselring, again, there's some ifs here. Like if Kulich or Norris can be a first line center, if Kesselring can help out by shielding for Power's defensive inefficiencies, if Byram can step up a bit with under Dolan and be better than they were as a pairing, and again, if somehow Alex Lyon and Alex Georgiev can stem the tide for a couple months, this team could make a run at the fourth wild card because the offensive talent's there. But right now, there's just
the
too
offensive
many
talent's
ifs
there. The defensive talent, like there's at least enough defensive talent. I think it's not a great defense, but like there's talent there. You said, can Alex Lyon and Georgiev hold it together? No. I think that's a very Lyon maybe, Georgiev no. I think it's a pretty fair thing to say.
That's why we have them here. There's just too many ifs, and there's not enough known quantities for me to push them higher. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if like somehow they went on this miracle. If all those ifs hit, that's a playoff team. I'll be honest. Like that's how much talent is on this team.
X factor for you Yuri Kulich or?
I think it's Yuri Kulich or Josh Norris, just whoever ends up being the 1 seed.
Okay, I'll lean more to Kulich just because like with Norris's injury history, like I just don't know if he stays healthy enough to be that X factor.
Not
essentially,
dependable enough for you.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like this would be so Josh Norris-esque. He'd start the year like, let's say he goes the first 15 games, he starts the year a point per game, and then boom, separates his shoulder and misses 6. I feel like that sounds like a very typical arc in the Josh Norris career arc kind of thing. Whereas like I'll lean to Yuri Kulich because he's more the unknown at this point. And if he does become that center one, at least they have like center one and like the first
and
one.
3
I guess
figured out.
Yeah, they have 2 out of 3 things figured out because the UPL streaky as he is, I don't think he's kind of their goalie of the next few years. I don't think he's.
I don't know who. Like it's weird because you always said they had a lot of potential, but now I really don't know because if Levi can't start over Georgiev at least in a backup role, I really don't know what the plan is for them goaltending wise.
Here, I'm gonna just to kind of satisfy this. I am gonna Google quickly and see if Levi's just injured because if he's injured anyways, then like okay, then at least
I don't think he is because I think they optioned him to the AHL.
Great. Okay, so basically you really are saying we'd rather trust 6GF himself and the guy who lets in 6 to 8 goals on a daily basis than play you. Okay, yeah, that's bad. That's not a good look for your career.
Like, I mean, Alex Lyon I can accept as a backup because he's been a journeyman, he is a capable backup, and he's
capable backup, yeah. But my point is,
I just don't know what the case for Georgie is.
Wait, who's the? It is Kevin Adams, right? Who's still the GM?
Yeah, he's fighting for his job. Like for me, he's fighting for his job this year.
I'm just gonna say this. Alexander Georgiev has some incriminating evidence on Kevin Adams in some way. Because there's no shot he gets a job here in Buffalo unless he has some kind of incriminating evidence or some information on Adams that doesn't want to get leaked.
Here's my thing. If Georgiev gets a job, it should have been, again, I don't think he should be employed personally, but if he does get one, it's like a league minimum on a team that has no, like, if Chicago signed him to a 1-year league minimum just to fill the cap and he's just the backup and nobody cares, fine. I'm okay with that. Like, that makes sense. Right, because this team has no plans to make the playoffs.
So what is the league minimum? Just out of curiosity.
I thought it was $750K, isn't it?
Okay, well he got $825K. Well, he got $825K, so he actually got more than the league minimum.
But like maybe it is that. Maybe that is the league. Maybe it changed post CBA. NHL league, no, $775K. No, actually in 2026-27 it'll be $850K, but right now it's $775K.
Okay, so somehow he got more than league minimum.
I wonder if maybe there's a difference if you've had certain amounts of, maybe if you've been in the league
like rookie, like
years,
games played versus okay, maybe I don't know, but like I think my point is the fact he got more than league minimum to be a backup says I don't know.
But my point is, if it was a team like Chicago, San Jose re-signs him just because you need the bodies, fine. A team where a guy's fighting for his job most likely is crazy to me to trust Georgiev with any level of anything.
Well, I was gonna say it should have been a red flag that like even like San Jose or Chicago.
San
just said,
Jose was just like, no, we're good.
no, we're good. Yeah, I said no, we're good. We'd rather just. Although I guess in San Jose's case they had a scar off, so like fair. But like
No, but
I
they
guess
didn't keep him as a backup. They were just.
I know
like,
that's my point. Like essentially, it's like they didn't even keep him as a backup. They're like they said, nah, we're good, thank you. And then Buffalo's like yoink.
Like who's San Jose's backup right now? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, Alex Nedeljkovic. They were like, we'll just take the better backup.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, again, I think we've always we're on the GM Mike. We're on the Mike Greer train for a reason, right? At least he has a. Seems like his head is screwed on right compared to Adams.
He has I don't know, man. I feel bad for Sabres fans. Like this team has so much potential too. Like you watch the guys on this team, and again, I sympathize because it's not like this team's just rebuilding. It's not like, look, I'm a Panthers fan, a Carolina Panthers fan. It's not like watching Carolina Panthers where you see just a lack of talent on the field. It's like this team has talent. Like Tage Thompson's really Tage Thompson could potentially make a run at a Rocket, I think, at some point in his career. Like Dolan could make a run at a Norris. And generally when you have guys like that, you should be better than this.
Yeah.
Just a fact.
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I'll just add this as the last tidbit before we move on. But like, it always weirded me out as to how like you have the Pegulas could own like the Bills and the Sabres, but like you have one in the Bills who, apart from just losing to the Chiefs or finding weird ways to lose at the end of games, apart from that, like they've just been consistently, a model franchise in the NFL. And then you have the Sabres who have just been the example of what not to do essentially in the NHL.
Well, I mean, I think in football, like your quarterback is such an important part that's probably what the difference was. Like once you hit that quarterback, it's like everything.
Well, fam, the Bills even made the playoffs with fucking Tyrod Taylor at one point, man. Like even
yeah, but I mean, again, overall throughout the history,
and the Sabres
of the Bills,
with this talent can't make the playoffs. Like, come on.
But overall, throughout their history, I remember. Look, again, back in the day, all you could watch on TV in the 1:00 window was Buffalo Bills games. And I remember the years of like EJ Manuel, Trent Edwards, JP Lossman. I watched those games. And in the NFL, it's the quarterback matters a lot. Look, I always say the easiest way, and it's not, I say it sarcastically, the easiest way to turn a team around is to find your head coach and quarterback that work together. But obviously it's hard. But
I mean, the Bills did, right? McDermott, Allen.
For sure. But I mean, it's just a lot easier in theory. It's hard. It's a lot harder to find the franchise quarterback, but once you do, it's easier to turn around the team, right? Whereas, because once you get that franchise quarterback, suddenly that head coach, like again, like Justin Herbert's a good example where Jim Harbaugh comes along. He's like, "Ooh, I want to work with that guy," right? Or Ben Johnson saw the potential in Caleb Williams, like, "Oh, I want that guy," right? It's just easier once you have that guy in place to an extent. Whereas, again, in hockey, it's weird because, like you'd think, even in hockey, where McDavid and Draisaitl, they were looking for a coach. How many coaches did Edmonton fire? And, they took a chance on an unproven Chris Knoblauch, and it's worked. But, there's not that same bond between coach-player that there is in football, right?
Yeah,
and also the franchise quarterback just means more in football than it does in like that franchise. Like a franchise center means a lot in hockey, but we saw with McDavid how like they were still struggling to make the playoffs. Even some years.
I mean, I think they still. I think it's the first. I guess like they did make. I guess it took them a bit of time to make it, but they still made it with him, right? Even though like some of those were really bad Oilers teams, but I think with like the Sabres, it just feels like no matter what they do, it's just like nothing ever seems to go right, kind of thing.
Yeah. Again, and I don't think it's going to lead to a playoff appearance this year, but I mean, if everything hits, maybe. Fair enough. We're on to the next team. This is an interesting one. So, for me,
do you want to ask me who I have, or do you want to ask me who I have, or do you want to just? Okay. No, I thought you might.
Okay,
ask,
I'm going to ask because it's between one of them. I have Montreal. Do you have Ottawa or Montreal?
I have Montreal.
Okay, so
I leave Montreal because I thought a lot of what they did last year was a little bit unsustainable. They didn't really solve. I don't want to say they didn't really solve the problems they had, but their main problem was they didn't have a second line center, and they kind of did we hope Kirby Dach doesn't get injured, and we'll just stick him there and hope this works kind of maneuver. And like sure, like their defense got a little bit better with Dobson, sure, but like like I'm not gonna say this. Actually, I should say this, but like it felt like Montembeau kind of carried their ass into the playoffs essentially at times. It felt like at times Montembeau was like the only reason why this team was in games.
Well, for me, I said this was the year before the year, I think. Like we said, this team screams regression. Like, there's no good metric on this team, minus their penalty kill. Like, again, 17th in goals for, 23rd in goals against, 23rd in shots for, 24th in shots against, 23rd in expected goals for, 24th in expected goals against. It's just like this, and high danger chances for, high danger, again, 24th, 31st. Like, they weren't good offensively, they weren't good defensively.
And they also give up a shit. They give up a ton of high quality chances too. So, and
exactly.
Montembeau, I think,
31st in high danger chances against.
Yeah, and I think Montembeau was a top. I believe he was a top. Yeah, he was 5th in goals saved above expected, right? So, like he kind of shows you how much he had to do to kind of drag this team there.
But this team screams regression. I will say, though, they did do some things to change that. Obviously, adding Demidov on the wings makes an impact. Trading Mailloux for Bolduc and adding some toughness on the third line. And then obviously trading for Noah Dobson finally helps. It helps bolster this roster. Now, the problem is they really do have, like, the wings are really good. When I look at, like, Bolduc on the third line, when I look at Demidov, Laine, Slavkovsky, Caulfield, that's a great set of wings, right? Without question. But the problem is, like, they really only have one good line together because it's Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky or Demidov, depending on who ends up there. And then, like you mentioned, the center depth is just horrible on this roster, right? It's Newhook, it's Doc, and it's insert, whoever. That's a real problem.
So it's
that's a real problem.
It's Laine. It's currently Laine, Doc, and Demidov, but yeah. The problem is the second line center what was an issue for them last year, because I think if you saw in the playoffs, like when their first line was on the ice, that it felt like that was the only line that was generating any kind of like offensive chances. Yeah. I guess like when Demidov was out there too, like there were times where the only time the second line did something was when Demidov was kind of putting the play on his back kind of thing, right? But even like Demidov's a rookie and you can't kind of put him in that position, right? But again, and then when the rest of their lines came out, they were just getting hammered.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's other issues aside from the second line center. Like, I think I will say on the power play, Demidov in a small sample size against Washington looked really good, and he fits seamlessly on the power play. So the power play should be improved just by having him there. But even though they added Bolduc, there's still a real lack of physicality on this team, aside from Bolduc and Josh Anderson, who's now projected to be on the fourth line. Especially if Slavkovsky doesn't grow into his physicality and be the power forward that everyone projects. Because right now he has all the tools to be a power forward, but he's not, right? Like, he doesn't hit, doesn't really shoot a lot. He's kind of very passive in his play.
Doesn't score a lot either. Like,
yeah.
let alone the hit a lot part.
So until that happens, it's still a team that's very undermanned physically. And even on the defensive end, you see that too, because outside of Gouli, again, it's a team that can be pushed around. And you saw that in the Washington series where they were just more physical and they wore on them in the playoffs. Like, you saw Ryan Leonard, Ovechkin, Wilson, they were giving them fits, right?
Yeah, and like I think with the defense too, like even though like Lane Hunson's really good, obviously, but him being a smaller defenseman, like that's gonna work against you, especially against the more physical teams, right? Because they're gonna just body you, push you around. Like, again, like a 5'9", is he 5'9", 5'10" Lane Hudson,
something like that,
against like a 6'2", 6'3" forward. Like, it's just a mismatch. It is what it is, right? So
it's also an issue against teams that teams that do play that Washington style or that Florida style where they kind of like have a very violent cycle and they have physical forwards. Like, they're gonna kind of wear. And but I will say, like, I did like the Dobson addition because it finally gives them a puck moving defenseman on every pairing. And for some of Dobson's shortcomings, he is still he's probably their best two-way defenseman on the overall defenseman on the roster. But I will say, and he will help mitigate the chances against somewhat. But I do think, again, Hudson still having to grow into his own defensively, and the bottom pairing are still liabilities. And that's an issue. That's still an issue. And there's not a lot of great defensive forwards on the roster either to mitigate, which is another issue. So the defense is still kind of a real work in progress. And the other problem to top it all off is I don't like this in teams in general. This team's incredibly undisciplined, which is a staple for young teams. Montreal, I think, led the league in power play opportunities against, if I remember, or they were one of the 3 worst teams in it. And that's just like all of this is just not a sustainable formula to be.
They were the worst. They were the worst team. Yeah,
okay,
power play opportunities against. They were 32nd with 257, so one more than the Sharks. Or
So when you combine a team who gives up a lot of high danger chances, who's very undisciplined, and will put themselves on the penalty kill, and again, like offensive depth lacking and not a lot of great defensive forwards, there's a lot of issues defensively. And like while Montembeault is really good by advanced analytics, he can only do so much, right? Like unless he turns
also
into
the other
prime
thing too
color.
is like special teams are. I don't want to say special teams are kind of volatile from year to year, but like they have the ninth ranked. They had the ninth ranked penalty kill last year, which I think was what helped them get away with taking as many penalties as they did. But like if your penalty kill is just not good one year and you keep taking those bad penalties, at some point against the better teams, they're just going to take advantage of that, right? No matter how good Montembeault is, no matter how good your penalty kill is, even if you do maintain, let's say even if you stay a top 10 penalty kill, if you give a team 8 power play opportunities in a game, they're probably going to cash in at least 1 or 2 of them, right? Like it doesn't matter like how
is insane.
I know, but like that's the emphasis, like emphasize the point of like how undisciplined they are.
For
but
sure.
Again,
yeah. No, I agree. It's just when you're undisciplined and you're giving up chances, like the dam's gonna break eventually. It's just a question of when. Like I said, Montembeault was really good by all advanced analytics. That's why I'm kind of high on him, because in a really bad situation, he performed way above expected. The only question I have is whether Fowler will be up this year, because Dobesh did not survive those
Dobesh was not
inclement
good.
conditions, but like Fowler does have a lot of potential, and I think they kind of view Fowler as at worst the 1B of the future. So I just do wonder if he'll be up as well.
I think at some
overall,
point
yeah, I get
up, just not right now.
Yeah. Overall, like my X factor for this team, it's Ivan Demidov. It's just again adding adding someone to improve the power play and adding another wing, especially as like a buffer in case Slavkovsky doesn't take that step up, is nice to have. And again, look very good to small sample size.
I guess question is would it also make sense as I was okay? It's not that I believe in him, but I was gonna lean Kirby Dach just because like if
because I've given up on both of them.
Okay, because I was like we joked about having him as a swing player at one point, so I thought maybe like if somehow he figures it out, at least they have that second line issue figured out. Like if him lining Demidov together would at least give them
to me the X factors we've listed at least have like proven they can do it before, or like show steps that they can like. Casper, again, there's the potential to do it. Kulich, potential to do it. Norris has done it before.
Okay, potential. Okay, Kulich's potential.
Lindholm, again, I know that Calgary year was a far cry ago, but has done it before at some point. Like, I just haven't seen it from Kirby Dach, even when he was healthy at, like, any point.
I feel like everyone's still leaning on that, on the top. I guess when you drafted in the
top he's a top 5 pick. Yeah.
Top 3. He's top 3, actually, even, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 3rd overall, so... Anytime you're in the top 3, you'll get more chances then.
100%. There was a reason Blaine Gabbert was still getting chances. Granted, it wasn't a top 3 pick, but like, if you're first round anything, you'll get chance after. Remember, Jake Virtanen was getting tryouts even after that whole alleged scandal.
The was it the sexual harassment, sexual assault one, or was that?
Yeah, and he still got a player PTO even after. And just Jake Virtanen, one of the worst offensive players I've ever seen. Also,
one of the most undisciplined players I've ever seen in my life, either.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that World Junior game against you'll probably know this one because it was against that Finnish team that we always talk about, the 2016 Finnish team that had Hintz, Rantanen, Aho, Puljujärvi, Laine, that one. I don't know if you saw the quarterfinal game, but the amount of penalties this guy took, because like the joke, so essentially the joke is apparently he had the choice to play between like play for either Finland or like Canada, essentially because I think he is technically Finnish.
Makes sense because of the last name.
Yeah, and I think all the Canadian fans were like, "Bro, should have chose Finland." I remember the comments on Reddit was just should have chose Finland. Should have chose Finland.
How many penalties did he take?
I think he took like 3 that game. Pretty bad. Let me check. I have to check this now out of curiosity because like, hold on. 2016. Okay, you can go on a bit. I'll just pull it up in the meantime because I am kind of curious because that was atrocious. Yeah,
overall, I just think it's the lack of defense and the lack of depth beyond the center, depth beyond the first line that kind of has me where I have them. But I do think if they can address the second line center with the assets they have next year, I think there's real potential for this team to break out next year. Again, I think this is the year before the year happens. Is really what I think with this team. Moving on to my 4th team here. I have Ottawa.
Yeah, I don't know too. Yeah, because I was between Ottawa and Montreal, and like I guess I think what decided it for me more was after watching Ottawa in the playoffs and kind of the way they held their own. I was a little bit higher on them, whereas like I kind of watched Montreal just get kind of thrown around. So I was a little bit like I'd rather go with the team with a little bit more balance across their lineup too. Like feels like Ottawa at least has at least two decent forward lines, whereas Montreal just kind of has one.
Ottawa's interesting because I talked about this last year. Like they're not bad at anything, but they're not great at anything.
Yeah, well, they're also
like,
not.
You look at their
I don't want to say they're also not. They're not also. I don't want to say they're not good at anything either. But they're a lot of these Atlantic teams, like analytically, are kind of weird because they don't. It seems like according to the advanced stats, they don't do anything very well, and they also like they're kind of mediocre, right? So to break down Ottawa, 22nd in expected goals for, 18th in expected goals against, 22nd in high danger chances for, and 19th in high danger chances against. So they're kind of like just meh. Like it feels like they're just kind of meh analytically. They're not the worst, but they're nowhere close to the best.
Yeah. My thing I asked was, does this team have another gear offensively? Because, like I said, they're average to slightly below average in like everything. Even like the best category they're in, shots for, was 8th, right? Like, and they do have potential, right? Like the Tkachuk, Stützle, Giroux line was really good, but the rest of the offense left a lot to be desired. Ideally, you want Stützle to be above point per game. He was close last year, but you kind of want him to take that next step up. Now, the second line was weird.
He's shown it before, right? Like he had 91 year, right? So he's capable of doing it. The problem is, I don't know if it was between him and Tkachuk both their production kind of plummeted. Tkachuk's production plummeted to the point where he only had like 50 something points in like 70 something games. Mm-hmm. So like I think it was both of them kind of taking a step back. But like even then, I guess like while they took a step back, it seemed like the rest of the team kind of took a step forward, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see where they end up, but ideally, yeah, both Tkachuk and Stützle, you want to be back to where they were 2 years ago-ish. Second line's interesting because Cousins was really good, and Cousins, the knock on him has always been offensive production, but he was really good in his Sens run. And then it's weird because Zetterlund was horrible during the Sens run.
It's funny because I was shitting on Greer for trading him away, but honestly, apparently, if you're Mike Greer, you're apparently every move you make is just apparently the right move.
Yeah, no, like I was confused too, and then I saw Zetterlund play with the Sens. Not only did he look bad in the regular season, invisible in the playoffs, and it's crazy to me how that weirdly worked out, almost in a way. I will say, like when healthy, the depth is pretty solid. The wing depth, Zetterlund aside, is pretty solid. You have Batherson, you have Greg as a potential third line guy, so you have David Perron, who's still timeless. Claude Giroux, same thing. Again, even the center depth isn't horrible if Cousins is solid because you have Stützle, you have
Cousins. He was good, right?
And
he had 16 points in 21 games in the 21 games he played in the regular season with Ottawa, right? And I think a lot of that was attributed to the fact that so basically he was only shooting at an 8% clip before he got to Ottawa, and it kind of got back closer to a 10%, which is like closer to his career norms. So I think that helped too, like him just even though he only had 5 goals in 21 games, like him shooting closer to his career average, like definitely helped his production. So there's that too, and I think the D looks pretty good. I really did like the Spence acquisition. Like I think he's just a really good puck moving defenseman, and it's hard to find good right-handed puck moving defensemen in this league because a lot of the defensemen in this league are left-handed, and the few good ones that are right-handed are you're not getting them usually.
Yeah, exactly. Like if Cousins is good, I do like Pinto as a third center. I think he's solid as that, and he can sometimes step into the second in a pinch. Like you mentioned, I think Sanderson-Zub was a really good pairing together. Chabot-Jensen was iffy, but I feel like more of that was on Jensen than Thomas Chabot, because Thomas Chabot looked fine with other guys. Again, adding Spence is a solid bottom 4D man. Like all his numbers.
I feel like he's. Really I almost want to say he's overqualified to be like your third pair defenseman.
Third pairing guy.
Yeah, like he's like it's kind of like a lug. It's like driving a. It's like driving like a sports car, and I'm trying to think of what town. Like what's a town would it be weird to drive drive a sports car in, like a really expensive sports car in?
No, not Oshawa.
Shout out.
I don't know.
I think you thought of Oshawa because we're going to the Generals game in November, eh? Is that the first?
Like Nobleton, maybe.
Does London count or no? Like London.
No. London's okay. I'd say I know what you mean. Like Kenora or something. Yeah,
or like Lindsay. I don't know. I'd say Lindsay.
Yeah. I know Lindsay 100%.
Okay.
But yeah, Spence is a solid bottom pairing, and then Kemchuk obviously has a ton of upside. I do think there's again, similar to where this team has another gear. I think this team has another gear. If Sanders, I think Sanderson can take. Sanderson's really like he's like right there. He's so close.
I don't know.
I think
when I watched him in the playoffs, like as a Leafs, he frustrated the heck out of me as a Leafs fan. I was like, "Yo, why is this guy playing so?" It's like, it's not that I thought he was bad. Just like I didn't think he was that good. Like that good. Like I thought he was good, but I didn't think he was. His play went up another level in the playoffs, and if that play continues into the regular season this year, like he's there. And like if let's say if Stützle and Kachuk's point totals get a little bit better, I'm assuming that means their power play probably got a little bit better too, and then obviously by default, because Henderson's on the power play, his numbers probably go up too, right? So he's right there.
And then if Yakemchuk can kind of tap into his ceiling somewhat, Spence being solid, like the defense has a lot of potential. Goaltending, Allmark's just solid. Like he's a massive upgrade over what it was before, and I do wonder if Miralainen has a little bit more upside than we thought, because that run he was on last year was insane.
I know,
insane.
I was gonna say just Ottawa. I feel like again, Allmark does have a little bit of injury history in a way, but it's nice to know that if he were to go down, like you have a more than capable guy to step in and take it from him, right? And even if Allmark is healthy, on the nights you want to rest him, you know that you're not getting subpar goaltending. So it's just nice to have two really, I guess like Allmark's a really good goalie to have, and then a really good starter, and then Miralainen is like a way, I don't want to say it's like a way better than average backup.
At least he seems that way. Granted, it was only 12 games, but like 3 shutouts in 12 games is still crazy.
I mean, your backup for the most part only playing like 20 something games anyways, right? So it's like, hey, like if you get those 20 good games, you're fine with that, right?
It's just, for me, I see this team, it's like, it's decent. It's just, again, can Stützle, Sanderson, to a lesser extent Miralainen, and guys like Cousins, can they hit that next gear, and become, because if they can, like, this team's ceiling increases. If not, I think they're a playoff team that's just it's a tough first round out. But for now, like, I feel like I have this team in fourth, again, because they're not bad at anything, whereas when you look at the teams we mentioned below, again, Detroit, bad depth. Boston, bad scoring. Buffalo, bad goaltending.
They're also the most well-rounded. They're also like more well-rounded than the other teams, right? Like they don't have any issues on offense. They don't have any major issues on defense, and then their goaltending is just solid. Like there's nothing that can apart from apparently playoff Allmark is just not. I guess that's not great, but like this is regular season Allmark has been good for the most part.
Yeah. It's just, again, it's a team that's decent enough. The thing that changes them from first round out to, can this team go further, is if Stützle, Sanderson, to a lesser extent Miralainen, and like those, and Tkachuk, sorry, if those guys can get to what, especially in this case of Tkachuk, Stützle, what we've seen before, and if Sanderson and Miralainen can hit another gear, now we're talking. Because I don't know outside of the roster currently where because the prospect system is not that deep. There's no one on the horizon that's coming to like add a jolt to this team as of yet. So they kind of need the improvements to be internal on the roster, I should say. Yeah,
like I was even looking at their prospect pool. Like they're like even when they were talking about biggest weakness, they talked about how Ottawa's overall offensive depth is, like, I guess prospect wise is pretty weak. And like I think a lot of their top prospects, like it was, like I think it's Yakemchuk, who looks like he's gonna start the year on the third pairing. Logan Hensler, who I think was drafted this most recent year, another defenseman. And then like I'm looking at their prospecting. Their first like top 5, like 2 or 3 of them are defensemen essentially, right? So
yeah, it's like I said, it's all gonna come from the roster they have as structured currently. All right, moving on to 3. I would have had this team at 1.
Did we talk about X Factor? I think we missed X Factor. Did we? Or
I just said Jake Sanderson because I just want to see him. I just want to see him take the next step.
Okay, like so you want to see him take the next step. I was gonna lean either Stützle or Brady Tkachuk because I feel like they need to hit that other gear offensively for this team to have a shot. Because like you can't have 75 something point Stützle and like 50 something point Tkachuk isn't gonna, like, while this team is a good team as a whole, it's just, I think it elevates them from first round exit to extremely tough out in the first round. Even like they could even get to second, maybe even third round if like they just have that good offensive output, right? But like I'm not going to disagree with the Sanderson one because like if he takes that next step, like this team will be much better.
But overall, what this team needs to do is those high level guys they have on the roster just need to take a step forward. or in Tuchuk's case, return to form. All right, moving on to the next team here. I had this team at 1 until the Barkov injury, Florida. Look, I don't
Yeah.
like the question of this team isn't.
I had
it's
them
weird.
at 2. I had them at 2 until the Barkov injury because I thought maybe like not having Kachuk, like losing
They'll
a guy
coast
like,
a little.
yeah, a little bit of coasting, but like when you lose 2/3 of your first line, like I don't I don't think it's like for most teams that's kind of like a death sentence in the season, but like for Florida, like they're still gonna make the playoffs easily, like even after losing those two guys.
This team is such a. You look at this team, man. Every analytic, like they're second in high danger chances for, first in high danger chances against. They're fourth in expected goals for,
And first in expected goals against. I know.
Like, think about that for a second.
Crazy.
And when you watch them, the eye test how violent their forecheck is and how good their cycle game is when they turn it on amongst all three lines, it's frightening to watch. And the question for me was, how good is this team without Barkov and Tkachuk? Because, like I said, this team and their system is normally so good. One of the main questions is who ends up being their first line center, whether it's going to be Bennett or whether it's going to be Lundell. And here's the thing. Part of the reason I was okay with the Bennett contract was because I thought, like, worst case, there's a chance that Lundell over the time of that contract will be better, and you'll have Bennett as like an overqualified third line center. Because I've always thought Lundell was ready for a larger role. And honestly, now here's his chance. What's interesting is over the playoffs last year, so when Lundell was with Marchand and Luostarinen, Florida outscored their opponents 13-4, 5-on-5 in over 210 minutes. And that's over 23 games.
Well, even in the playoffs, like he had 18 points in like 23 games in the playoffs. Like that's pretty good. Like again, like that's really good in the playoffs. Although like I was gonna joke, like apparently playoff Sam Bennett versus regular season Sam Bennett is like two totally different sides of a coin. Like so, I guess maybe that might be why Bennett is probably gonna get the first crack at like first line minutes. But like I wouldn't be shocked if Lundell took it because I think. All jokes aside, I feel like he's the closest thing they have to like Barkov, right? Finnish center, himself, yeah. Extremely good defensively, is capable and has some offensive talent. Like he's not gonna score like more than Barkov. Like to be fair, Barkov's not like an extremely high scoring forward, but like you know he's always been point per game at the minimum, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's actually what Lundell could get to too.
Barkov's kind of been like the Kawhi, like if Kawhi was healthy in the NBA, but kind of like what Kawhi is to like you know he's the best, arguably when he's on his game, he's the best defensive forward, and then he gives you quite a fair amount offensively as well. I do think even as long as the Lundell injury in that game versus Tampa in the preseason was fine, if he's good to go, like I think Bennett just having Reinhart and Verhaeghe should be fine, and then if Lundell's playing with Marchand and Luostarinen, that should be fine as well. Because like I said, over the 23 playoff games in the 210 minutes, they outscored their opponents 13-4. Like I think those two lines can work together. The defense is stout. Like again, adding Jones, while I was skeptical about it, did work with the system they want to play. And having Ekblad and Forsling, and then Jones on another pairing as well should be fine. I guess the only question I really have is like, which Bobrovsky will we get? Because year to year he seems to oscillate between potential Vezina and below average. I'm just curious, and I'm curious when the age part catches up with him because there might be a potential bit of decline there. But I'm just curious which one we get because again, every year it just seems to oscillate.
Yeah, and I think with Florida too, like the reason why we still have them so high in spite of like when you lose 2/3 of your first line is that like their first three lines, like obviously their first line was amazing, but like it felt like their third line was just another second line, right? So like I think even with all their injuries and they've elevated guys like their Lundell, Marchand, like Luostarinen, I'm not necessarily a fan of on the second line. Like maybe that's the only thing I'd poke around a bit.
I don't know, but him and Marchand, like I said, small sample size, but Lundell, Marchand, and Luostarinen were great together.
Exactly. So like I said, they felt like a second line. They were basically a third line that played like a second line, right? So when you elevate everyone further up the lineup, it doesn't hurt you as much because they're not. Yeah. It doesn't feel like they're playing out of their role.
And Rodriguez and Samoskevich are fine on the third line. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
And Samoskevich has a little bit of potential too. Like I feel like he could, he might even be able to take a step too. So like they have a lot like going for them, right?
And then going back to the defense, like they pair their guys perfectly. Like Mikkola with Jones is a great pairing. Forsling with Ekblad, it's like you just have the right contrast for each player that's needed, which is really great. Again, with goaltending, it's like I don't know, like they'll do enough to prevent, like they don't have to worry about Bobrovsky as much because their system's so good. But if you get elite Bobrovsky, it's like holy shit, you're even more better than you thought you were. Yeah, overall, I don't have much to say this team. Like, it tells you what I think about this team. That despite losing their best player, I think they'll still be a playoff team.
Despite losing their best player for the whole year, despite losing their second best, or like, would you say second best player?
Yeah,
second
until
best.
like at least the All-Star or Olympic break.
Yeah, December. Well, at least December, but like probably January, February kind of thing. Who knows? That they're still going to be third in the division. Yeah, like and by the way, we said
what's
that this
crazy
was the second division.
What's crazy is if Lundell, Marchand, and Luostarinen are working, when Tkachuk comes back, like they're going to have Verhaeghe on the third line.
That's crazy. Verhaeghe is not a. By the way, for people who don't like, Verhaeghe is not a third line player.
Like Verhaeghe's really good. No,
like he should be like a second line player, and like he's capable of playing first line minutes in a pinch too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, man, if he's on your third line,
like it is possible. X factor to me is Anton Lundell. It's like we got to find out. Like I've been wondering this for at least a year or two. What's this guy's ceiling? And now I kind of get to find out, which is nice.
Let's hope that the injury's not serious. That it would suck to be like, oh, he's out for the year. We'd be like, oh, fuck. Because I think Florida Panther fans are probably wondering the same thing too. Because like they've seen him for long enough, and they're probably like, I wonder what would happen if we give this guy more minutes.
Because he does seem overqualified as a third line center.
No,
like,
he is
really
way overqualified. He is way overqualified to be a third line center. Like I'm just gonna say, you don't draft a guy in the top half of the first round to be a third line center.
Yeah.
Also, a third line center who put up 45 points. Yeah.
And plays really good defense. That's the other thing too. It's like outside of Dallas, and I'd argue if Edmonton's playing RNH, I can't think of teams that have more overqualified third line centers. There's a time last year where Dallas was playing Rupe Hintz on the third and Wyatt Johnston at different points on the third line. And I was like, what's going on? And then obviously if RNH is going to play third line, like that's just way overqualified. But outside of that, I can't really think of a team that has a third line center.
There's not many teams that have that kind of depth, right? There's not a lot of teams that have that depth. Exactly.
Well, I guess Vegas too with Thomas Hertl would be, or Thomas Hertl or William.
Well, I guess William Karlsson. I guess in this case William Karlsson, right? Like Karlsson's not a third line center. Like if he's your third line center, whew.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's interesting for sure. All right. Moving on. Team of 2. I had this team of 3 until this happened. So Toronto. Look, it's weird. There are to me they're the most boring team to talk about because no one cares until the playoffs happen. Really, what happens with this team? There are a couple things I did want to monitor because under Berube's system, compared to Keefe, they do shoot and generate less chances, but they're still giving up chances, which I'm kind of curious to see if that was like a 1 year. Just a 1 year blip because some of the coaches last year kind of strayed away from how they know. Like Sheldon Keefe in New Jersey was a good example as well, where it deviated from how the team was coached in Toronto. I do wonder whether that's the talent or whether that's just a 1 year blip, and we'll kind of see what the system's supposed to look like coming into year 2. I don't know what your take was on that, but
so. I think what bothered me was because the Leafs were always a really good team at generating like high danger chances for. So I was like, I was hoping that if you take a dip in your high danger chances for, maybe you don't allow as many like high danger chances against, right? Like that's the hope, right? Like you mitigate your high danger chances against by like giving up a little bit of like opportunity, right? But that wasn't really the case because they were 21st in high danger chances for and then 23rd or 22nd high danger chances against. Like they were kind of in like the roughly the same spot as they were with Keefe, and that kind of worried me a little bit. Like also when you look at this team's like defensive core, like apart from the McCabe like Tanev pairing, I just don't. It doesn't really inspire like I don't have confidence in this defensive core because like Carlo like wasn't very good in his like last like few games with Boston. Like he didn't look really good in his last like 2 years with Boston, and we thought maybe pairing him with Riley would be good, but didn't really work out. And then like Benoit was like a complete liability who was just getting a lot of puck luck, like according to like all the analytics and the eye test watching him. And apparently, playoff Benoit apparently, who knows? I don't know where the fuck that came from. And then like OEL again, like good puck moving defenseman, but not very good defensively, right? So
serviceable.
I don't think they're gonna improve significantly. Like maybe they're high danger chances against. Maybe they finish like 17th at best. Like I'm trying to keep it realistic here because I don't. Again, there's no shot that Brube's that good to the point where they vault into like the upper half of the league kind of thing.
Right.
But like maybe they get a little bit better, but I don't expect the high danger chances for it to get better either. Because when you lose like
I guess
a
the question is,
playmaker,
do you think they compensate and try to become more offensive? But that would be interesting because that's.
But the problem is they don't. They also, I mean, they lost Marner, right? So they lost a player who would create a lot of those chances too. Right? They tried that. They tried this weird thing where they acquired Mateus McKelly kind of as like a cheap replacement, and like he is a decent playmaking forward, but like he's not Marner. Like let's be realistic.
Because I think the issue I have with this team is like you look at all their numbers and. They like what really held up their offensive numbers last year was being first on the power play. The power play is elite, right? But it's like if that power play slips, let's say to 5th or 6th, maybe 8th, still top 10, but not first.
Well, I thought.
Like,
wait,
where does this team?
Did you say they were first? Hold up.
Was their power play not first last year?
They were 9th in power play percentage.
Oh, sorry, I'm probably looking at something else here. But I think if the power play, because the power play kind of held up the offense, I think. Regardless of if they finish 9th, but if the power play slips to like even let's say 12th outside the top 10, I think there's a lot of problems when you consider Marner not coming back. And there's a possibility it does slip because Marner's not there anymore. And Marner was a big part of playmaking,
lose quite a bit of
playmaking
setting up. Power play. Yeah.
Right. So I do kind of wonder where the offense is and how they're going to compensate for that, whether they become more aggressive offensively. And it is kind of a more fun and gun system, but it's weird because again, under Berube, that's not how he's traditionally played his teams. But to me, it's just like when I look at this team and the way like they give up chances but don't take a lot of chances, something has to give here because that's just not a winning system. Now, I'll say this: the talent is still there to get through the regular season, and the center depth is still really good. Like again, a healthy Matthews, Tavares, and Nick Hague is and when Scott Lawton comes back, great, fine, no questions. There's a lot of questions along the wings. Obviously Marner's gone, but like Nyes is still relatively unproven. We don't know. Michelli's kind of here on a 1-year take it or leave it flyer. Obviously Nylander is really good, but right now Domi's projected as the number 1 wing, which is like, I mean, how good is that really? And then the other thing too is we kind of talked about this with the defense. There's not enough production offensively to compensate for the loss defensively. Like Riley was horrible offensively under Berube's system last year, and then
he was horrible. He was horrible defensively too. Like it wasn't
right. And I guess I'm just wondering, and maybe you can speak to this as well. Like, was this a decline or a sign of things to come in Berube's system? Because he was in the doghouse. Like, let's be real here.
I think it's a decline. I know. Like Berube was talking about, like Riley was having it felt like he admitted that it felt like Riley was trying to over adjust like too hard and like maybe like you'll get a bit more of that offense. I don't expect to see that happen. Like I don't think Riley's offense is just suddenly going to come back. Like sure, like he's going to get back on the power play just out of necessity because when you lose a guy like Marner, there's not like another forward you can just replace him with. So like I guess out of necessity he's going to go back on the power play, but like I don't see Riley's production kind of like getting back to that kind of level. Like it's kind of unrealistic for a guy in their 30s to just kind of have that renaissance year, right? Like I was gonna joke and make a comparison, but like I don't know if you were talking about baseball, like you remember when we were like looking at George Springer last year and we were like, yo, this guy just sucks now, and like we're gonna have to suffer this contract. Like I don't think any of us thought that he would have this kind of year, but again, it's unrealistic. It was unrealistic to think that he could have this kind of year, right? It's the same way I feel as Riley, where I don't think he's suddenly just gonna bounce back.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's tough because they do need some more production and ability from back end. And traditionally, when the Leafs did have that, it was Riley basically being that offensive catalyst, plus like a bit of Muzzin before the injuries happened, right?
Yeah.
And now if Riley's going to decline, there's no one there to replace that. Because remember, Sandin, they traded away because they thought they weren't going to sign him to an extension. So now there's this hole that kind of needs to be figured out. And I don't know, again, and I think it's magnified when a guy like Marner leaves, because when Marner leaves, if you're not going to sign a 1-to-1 replacement, you have to sign people to kind of fill in the gaps by committee.
Smaller pieces to kind of like that. And that's kind of what they tried to do, right? They got McKelly, and then
they got Hague in the sign and trade.
Yeah, sign and trade. But like Hague's not, like Hague and McKelly don't really cover that much of the production, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think
I think
other
we just
question
need
mark.
a bit more from the defense, and it's just I don't see it there right now. Now, like I said, like the depth in the forward lines might be enough to get them through, but I do think there are some concerns when looking at like where this team's going to project as a cup contender. And then I guess we can talk about the goaltending. Like to me,
Yeah, I was gonna
Stolarz
say
is
that
elite
my other
now.
question with the goaltending is because Wool is has taken a personal leave due to a family matter. Stolarz has only played 33 games in regular season last year. Like, how much can he give? Is my question. Because if Wool has to miss a ton of time, like I don't trust whoever they're back. Is it? I think it's a Dennis Hildebilly,
It's
but I don't know.
Hildeby.
Hildeby, yeah, exactly. I don't trust him
Yeah.
as like the backup. So it's like, how much can you get out of Stolarz? And like, my concern is, you play him that much during the regular season. Like, do you risk burning him out for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean the thing with Stolarz is he is elite when he plays, right? It's just how often is he
Elite
going
when
to
he
play?
plays, but the problem
I
is
think
he hasn't played.
what's his max?
a heavy-
38 games ish.
Exactly, like 30 something. It's 30 something
Yeah,
games. I don't know exactly what it is. Let me pull it up.
and
Hold on.
and I guess the question is like while Wool is gone and we don't know when he'll be back, can Hildeby step up in the meantime? Because if Wool comes back,
Oh
like
nope.
by the
Apparently, last year was his maximum games played, 34.
okay. So you're definitely gonna need because it is gonna be a strict platoon, and I guess the question for now is, can Hildeby step up? And honestly, when is Wool coming back? Because there's no timeline right now.
There's no
So that's
timeline because
another concern.
we don't even know what. We just know it's a personal leave for a
Yeah.
family matter, but we don't even know what the matter is, so we can't even speculate
Mhm.
as to when he'll be back. And according to at least insiders, he's not going to be back anytime soon. Is the indication I'm getting?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's up to Hildeby to kind of be that platoon 1B, at least because Stolarz hasn't shown he can shoulder.
As you guys
the
can
load
clearly
at
see,
that
I don't
point.
believe in that.
Really?
I have about his.
No.
He's not that good. I don't believe in him.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Max factor for this team overall. While there are a lot of questions, it's weird. Again, I talk about this team like I don't.
Is it Morgan Riley?
Yeah,
Out of
it's Morgan
necessity?
Riley.
Yeah, because like they need that production from the back end, but the problem is I just don't think it will have. I guess in this case he can be an X factor because he's at least done it before.
He has to be though, because if he's going to do what he did last year with the way Marner not coming back, like where's this team's offense might. If this team dips offensively, like I'm not going to say they're in trouble of making the playoffs, but like they're just another. Like suddenly, this team's another. And don't get me wrong, I know there was the argument of this is kind of like a bide year until next year's free agency class, but we just saw Kaprizov get signed. Like again, if what happened last year where all the guys got re-signed basically before free agency.
Then there's nothing for you. There's nothing for you to get this free agency, this coming free agency to like replace what you lost in Marner, right? So it's like you never know.
Like, if Riley can bounce back, at least that's something, and that shores up a lot. Like that shores up the potential. That shows up that power play one defenseman you need. That shores up some production from the back end that sorely missed, especially when you compare.
It also makes his contract more stomachable too, because right now he is the worst contract on this team, I think, by far.
What's his contract still?
I think it's like 7.5.
You signed so? Oh jeez, how many
for
more
another?
years?
7.5 mil for I think for another. I want to say another 4 years, but let me pull it up and check. Hold on, I gotta. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's another 4 years at the minimum. I could be wrong. Yeah, his contract's until 2029. Let's see. This year, next year, 5 more years. 5 more years
to put up 0.5 points per game, which was the lowest total since his age 22 season. Which is
so he has another 5 years left on this. Another 5 years left on this contract. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he has another 5 years left on this contract, including this year, another 5. So
yeah. I don't know. It's but again because of the Barkov injuries and because the other teams just again they're real holes in those other teams. We're not talking about holes as in what their contender status is. Holes as in can this team even make the playoffs? We have the Leafs here second almost by default in a way. So
the best. What was that Homer Simpson? Is the Homer Simpson quote?
The Homer Simpson quote. The two best words in the English language. Default. Woohoo! Yeah.
Wait, did he
That's
spell the
pretty much
default
what
by?
it is.
Did he spell it by splitting?
Yeah,
it in
yeah.
half?
He thought
Okay.
default was 2 words because
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
because he
now.
goes
Okay.
default.
Because I thought the quote was the best word, not the best 2 words. Sorry, that's what I thought it was.
Oh, sorry,
My
the
bad.
best word. Yeah, the best word in the English language. No, it's the best 2 words in the English language.
It's best 2 words, yeah, but I thought it was best
Yeah.
word. But I guess like
Yeah.
the premise with Homer is that he's a little bit in the head.
He's dumb. Yes.
Yeah.
The 2 best words in the English language. Default. Woohoo.
And then I guess we can move on to number 1, and we can like.
So what's interesting is I had this team here even before. I had this team second before the Barca, but it was a real debate for me because I was like, what if Florida coasts? Like what? But I had Florida. I think I had Florida first, but this team was like neck and neck for me. And now with the Barkov injury, they're
I honestly, when I did it, I honestly debated. Like I couldn't decide between the two. I almost just flipped a coin for it because I was like, yo, at this point, like I just can't decide. Like because the argument, like there's so many arguments for and against both teams. I just can't. I couldn't make a decision. I was like, yo, fuck it, I'm just gonna leave it to a coin flip. And I was honestly just gonna admit, like, Florida could coast, but also Florida's the better team. Like that was kind of my arguments, like where this could go. So I was like, let me just flip it. I was like, I'm gonna just flip a coin for this, honestly.
Yeah, but it's Tampa, right? Tampa's look, they're really good. I mean, first in goals for, first in goals against. First in goals for, fourth in goals against. Like their expected goals for expected goals for third, like power play fifth, shots for 12th. Expected goals against was a bit of an issue, but having Vasilevsky return to form, it's fine. For me, it's just a question of like, can this team beat Florida? Because I said this last year, and I maintained this take. This was the second best team in the East, and arguably one of the 4 best teams in the NHL. They just happened to run into Florida round 1, which is a weird, like, they struggle with the physicality outside of Chernak, and even Chernak was getting bodied by some of Florida's
And even
guys.
then, like, I don't know if you, when I watched that series, I was like, man, like, if Florida's beating Tampa like this, I was like, fucking hell. I was like,
but also, it's like some of those games, like a break here, a break there. And you can say that with anything, I know, but like Tampa that series could have gone a bit longer. Like I look at this team and it's just a great balance, right? Like on their forwards, it's a great balance of defense and offense. Like Hagel and Cirelli are like perennial Selke candidates at this point this year.
And Hagel also put up 90 points too, which is kind of crazy. Like the fact you have a Selke kind of caliber player who can put up 90 points. And like Cirelli, like has always been in Selke conversation like the past few years, right?
Yeah.
So
and like some of the other guys too, like Gensel's decent defensively, Bjorkstrand's pretty solid defensively, Gord's fine as a third line center. Like overall, this team is like it's just a good balance, and you combine it with the offensive abilities of you mentioned Hagel, who can hit, plays the PK and can hit 90 points. Gensel, who's near point per game. Point, who's a point per game. Kucherov, who's led the league in scoring last year. It's a perfect balance of guys, right? The issue I have with this team is defensively, where it feels like it's held together by Victor Hedman and a prayer. Like this defense really needs more from Moser because most of the offensive production is basically Hedman and a prayer, and they need Moser to kind of be able to anchor his own pairing or take on some secondary production. Because right now,
right now they have Hedman and Moser paired together right now on Daily Faceoff. So I'm kind of curious to see if they split them. I think they need to split them because I do think
you can't have McDonough and Chernak as a pairing together.
Yeah, like McDonough's a decent defensive. The problem is he's also aging too, right? You can't Chernak like is a really good defensive, and so is McDonough, but you're getting almost zero offensive production from that pairing. And then I don't know who this Lilberg guy is, but like Darren Radish isn't very like.
I think what ends up happening is it just goes back to Hedman, Chernak, and Moser McDonough is what I think it ends up being. Because Hedman, like I think that's what will end up happening. But they do need more from Moser for sure. And the problem is like their best prospect coming up. I don't know if you saw, but like if you saw Connor Geekie break Seth Jones' ankles in the preseason, like their best prospect is coming up on the forward side. It's not on the defensive side. And they do need a little bit more defensively.
It's funny because I think Geekie wasn't even like one of their prospects. I think Geekie was drafted by
Utah in the Sergachev.
Yeah, he was in the Moser. He was in the trade he came over in the trade with Moser for Sergachev, I think, right? So,
but man, I watched him in the preseason. He's good. Like, did you see that play where he broke Seth Jones' ankles? It was crazy.
It's funny because Daily Faceoff doesn't even have him on here. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
it's just because he's a center, and it's kind of hard to. I get it because it's kind of hard to fit him, right? Like where,
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say
because
too,
he's
like
not.
if they have Gensel, Point, and Kucherov, and they go Hagel, Sorelli, and like because they had Geeky on the wing last year, right? They can go Geeky, Sorelli, and
Mhm.
Hagel. I think it's a really good line too, right? And then when Nick Paul comes back, Yanni Gord moves like Yanni Gord being your
Yeah,
fourth line center is like just like this center depth is
no,
crazy.
it's really good. It's and then Vasilevsky returned to Vasilevsky form last year, which I guess it took him a year post the surgery to come back. Like I was questioning whether last year, like the year before, was a blip, and it clearly was. Like Vasilevsky, by every metric, was second to Hellebuck and everything, which is perfectly fine. Um, he's really good. Jonas Johansson's just been their backup for the last couple of years. Like not great, but it's whatever. You
I
have
think the
him.
thing is you can get away with that when Vasilevsky plays so much volume that like you can get away with having a kind of a
Yeah,
mediocre backup. Also,
it's
the
like the
team,
Eric Con. Yeah,
yeah, then the team plays well enough, like provides enough offensively, anyways. That like if Johansson lets in 4 or 5, they could probably still win the game, anyways.
exactly. Like that's where I'm at with this team. Like there's not much change. So I don't want to say there's not much to talk about, but it's just again, it's a group of very capable, a group of very balanced forwards that can both contribute offensively and defensively, and the defensive forwards can kind of again where Kucherov maybe isn't the most prone defensively, but it doesn't matter because he has other guys to kind of compensate. Again, I think Hedman Chernak, as long as Hedman keeps performing at the same level he is really good. I think it comes down to the Moser McDonough pairing providing some secondary production. But overall, yeah, this team's very good in the regular season. I think they're going to be the best team with the Barkov injury. I think this team honestly is probably the second best team in the East. I'm just going to say this now, unless New Jersey absolutely hits their ceiling. Second best team in the East to a healthy Florida. And yeah, not much else to say. My X factor is Victor Hedman because it's how long can he keep this going for? Like
Every year we do this whole like, oh, he's gonna slowly fall off. Like I think you've seen it. Like it is like you are starting to see like his game like it has slowed a little bit because like obviously you can't expect the guy to like play as he did
like
when
the
he was like
skating
26.
definitely isn't what it was for sure.
Yeah, but like apparently
um,
everything else has not dipped a bit. He doesn't move as
no,
well.
like
He still plays pretty fine. It's fine.
he still shoots around the same rate. His time on ice is around the same. Like he's still yeah, like his max skating metrics have gone down. That's really about it. Like the production's always going to fluctuate like in a certain range, which is fine. I don't know. It just but my question is he's my X factor because like if if
If he,
his age and decline starts to
catches up to
show,
him,
this
they
team
don't have
is in
that
trouble on the
second. They
back
don't have that
end.
playmaking from the back. They don't have that playmaking from the back end, right? If he
And this team
declines,
does kind of need to figure out. I don't want to say a succession plan because we thought it was kind of there with Sergachev, but obviously they had to trade him because they didn't want to pay him. But like this team does have to figure out what that plan is to kind of alleviate the load from Hedman. Because again, we're talking about a guy going into his age 35 season, right? And and like at
and
some point you can't
he's
just
basically
assume.
carrying the like the playmaking from the back end by himself essentially at this point.
Yeah, and we talked about it like earlier, but like there are years where you're like, oh, they just put Hedman with Jan Ruda. It's like, they'll figure it out. Like, and
Exactly.
the
Like
answer was just throwing whoever with Hedman. And I like again, I kind of want to see a bit more of a plan. Like, I know right now it's Hedman Moser. I don't see that long term. I think it's going to be Hedman Chernak, Moser, McDonough. But overall, I'd like to see a little bit more just from the back end. I think would clear up. But overall, again, this team's any defensive issues the team runs into on the back end, they have so many good cleaners offensively, like whether it's Hagel, Chiarelli, Bjorkstrand, like that can just compensate for it. Like overall, this team's just so well balanced. Like
yeah, like
they have just so many.
you can't find you can't find many weaknesses with this team. Like there isn't really like all their lines are pretty solid. Like
and whatever weaknesses they do have, there's something that fills in for it. Oh, like maybe a line's not great defensively. You have Vasilevsky. Oh, maybe a line again. You have a guy like Kucherov who sometimes is lackadaisical defensively.
yeah,
Oh,
like
it's okay.
I noticed what they usually do with the Kucherov and Point. Sometimes they just throw Hagel on that line. Like I've seen they've done it a couple times. They just throw him on there. It's like okay, cool. Well, now they're not a defensive issue because Hagel's just that great defensively, right? So
their special teams is incredible. Like 5th on power play, 6th on penalty kill. Like there was a stat where at a certain point in the year, Hagel and Sorelli scored more goals on the penalty kill than their opponents did against them on the power play. Like that's how good they like. Again, everything about this team is just really good. I think they just need to figure out how to match Florida's physicality. A healthy Florida's physicality in the playoffs, but in the regular season, I have no this team's
like what the Atlantic Division is going to come down to is like who gets that first seed, because like whoever gets that first seed just dodges Florida in the first round. So that's basically what it's going to come down to, because like whoever finishes second probably has to deal with Florida, which is going to be brutal. So it's like, as a Leafs fan who thinks they're going to finish
the way we have it now, if it's Toronto, Florida round 1, are you just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think I might just jump out my window at that point.
It's so tough because if you're not the 1 seed, you're always facing a good team.
And even if you are the 1 seed, you just run into them in the second round and get kicked anyways.
Yeah. It's like, what was the stat that Tampa and Florida have basically been the Stanley Cup last 6 years?
They've won, I think, 4 out of the last 6, I'm pretty sure. Or, yeah, because Tampa won at those 2 and then...
I'm trying to think, but the Eastern Conference representative, was it Boston? There was some stat about the Atlantic's been 7 of the last.
Hold on, let's take a look.
7. Let me just double check. It's a crazy stat.
Oh, my fucking keyboard decided not to work now. Great. Cup Finals. Yeah, here it is. Okay, Stanley Cup Finals. Here it is. Okay, I got it. So yeah, most recent cup appearances. So I'm going back to the last 5 years. It's been 2021 Tampa, 2022 Tampa, 2023 Florida, 2024 Florida, 2025 Florida, and then 2020 I think was also Tampa because that was the year they won the COVID one. So yeah, last 6 years it's been. And then last 6 years it's been. Yeah, last 6 years it's actually just been the Florida teams.
Was it Boston before that, or Boston was one of the years they lost to St. Louis? Was that 2 years before Tampa won, or the year before?
The year before Tampa won, I think.
So yes, the last 7 years, an Atlantic team has represented
6.
the East.
Oh yeah, last 7 for Atlantic. Last 6 has just been the Florida teams.
Yeah,
or the Florida.
So it's teams. It's Thunderdome. So yeah, the goal is to be the 1 seed because you kind of want to ideally avoid that 2-3 slot. I think, which is kind of the Leafs' issue the last couple of years, right? It's always been playing in that 2-3 generally.
But even when you win the division, you just hit Florida in the second round, your ass kicked anyways. But that's fine.
Would you feel better if the Leafs lost in the second round every year versus the first, though?
Yes, because at least you just don't find a way to fucking... Because I think the whole joke was we just couldn't win a playoff series, but when we started winning playoff series, we still got our ass just shit kicked in the next round anyways. We couldn't even lose in the second round gracefully, is what I'm saying. Because that series against Florida, we lost 4-1, and then last year we got our ass kicked in Game 5 and Game 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a bunch of questions overall, but I do think there's a bunch of questions overall in this division, but I still think this is the better division. And I am kind of curious to see how Florida... I think my biggest question in this division overall is just how Florida navigates it and who ends up being the 2-3.
Yeah. I'm curious. I am just curious how things go. Because obviously even when Kachuk comes back, he's going to need some time to get adjusted too, right? Because no training camp, just being thrust back in isn't it's not easy. So even when he comes back, I'm kind of curious to see where the team is by that point. If they're in a good spot, then they might even take a little bit more time to ease him back in, kind of thing as well. So
the most frightening thing would be if Florida was first in the Atlantic and they didn't have Tkachuk and Barkov. I would tell everyone just to shut. I would just shut down the conference and just move Florida to the Cup Finals if that's happening.
Yeah, that's crazy. And can you imagine? It's we made the Cup Finals. Yeah, we got. Barkov's coming back for the Cup Finals.
Remember how in soccer, Arsene Wenger used to do this thing where he called when a guy came back from injury, he called it a major acquisition. Florida's major acquisition would be Barkov coming back from injury
for the Cup Finals specifically. It's he was. Oh yeah, he's fully healthy to go in the finals, and then Barkov just wins the Conn Smythe, and I'd just be like, bruh.
What's the rule with the cap space this year? How are they going? Because how can they use Barkov's cap space with him being out. Like they have to be cap compliant for the playoffs now, but how would it work? I guess is the question.
Here, I
Like,
saw this. I saw this a couple days ago. Here, let me check. Yeah, implement playoff salary cap this year. Here it is. So TSN has it. So according to the cap. Okay, according to TSN Hockey Insider Chris Johnston, the cap will be implemented immediately and take effect for the playoffs. Meaning each team will be limited to icing a cap compliant 20-man roster. Yeah, and then the new rule prevent teams from accruing cap space. Blah 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 blah. There was something I saw a post about it. I forgot what exactly it was, but because people were talking about it for the Barkov one. I forget what they were talking about, but I think they can go over the cap by only a smaller, like they can't go over it by like the full player salary now. It's a little bit less. I don't exactly remember because people were talking about it during the Barkov because the whole discussion was Barkov's going to miss the regular season. So like, what if he wants to come back in the playoffs? So I think Florida has to keep a certain amount of cap space open for him. It's not his full salary, but I forget what it is.
Here it is. Okay, I think I found it. If
Apparently
Florida places Barkov and his $10 million on season-ending LTIR, it means he's ineligible to return
for the playoffs. Yeah, exactly. Because if he's
for
on
the playoffs or the regular season, but if Barkov can return this season, the Panthers can exceed the salary cap by up to $3.8 million.
So I think that's like a third of what he's paid. I think it's a third of his salary, right? I think it's like something in that range. Yeah. I thought it was a third, but I wasn't sure exactly what the percentage was. So they do have to keep some space
has it here. So if Barkov might return, I think that's the post you're referring to. So if Barkov might return this year, the Panthers can exceed the cap by up to $3.8 million for his injury. If he's medically declared out for the full regular season and playoffs, they can exceed the cap by his full $10 million, but then in exchange, he's ineligible to play this season. So the trade-off before was if you put him on LTIR, you have his $10 million, and then if you're able to activate him game one of the playoffs, you can go over the cap while like whatever $10 million you supplement it with. So you get a $9 million player, you're able to have Barkov and his $10 million cap hit plus that player's cap hit. Whereas here it's only $3.8 million versus the full 10 that would be available.
I mean, I feel like teams can still sort of get like it again. You can't, maybe the quality of player you get isn't as like great, but you can still probably like get a team to retain half on like a $6 million selling guy, and then you can kind of have that guy there, and then have Barkov come back. I mean, there's still smaller ways to get around it. They just can't abuse it like they did in the past. Like Tampa
I guess the two things to assess is how bad is the injury and whether he can come back potentially, and then two, because then they have $10 million to throw around, and with retentions and stuff like that, there are certain things you can do just for a deadline run. But even at 3.8, like if you think about it with retention, you could probably get a decent player.
You can get like a 7.6 million player roughly ish with the 50% retention. Plus, like you can always like you can do weird things where you like you bring a third team into the trade, and like I'm pretty sure you can do some weird things with bringing a third team into the trade to get more retention, right? Or like if the team you're trying to trade with couldn't retain the 50%, you can get them to retain like 30, and then bring in like a third team to retain the rest of like the 20, right? So there's some things you can do essentially.
And like if I just you think about the pending free agents. Look, again, just hypothetical scenario, but let's say, for example, I'll just throw a name here. Oh, here's a really good one. If this comes up.
Oh yeah, so you can retain with two teams, but like you can get two teams to retain, so you retain up to 75% combined. So like 50 from one team and 25 by.
So here's some interesting names I'm gonna throw out at you actually. So if LA's out of it, Anze Kopitar's cap hit this year is $7 million. Adrian Kempe's is 5.5.
Yes, you can do that with you can get them to retain half on Kopitar, or like if you want to try, I don't know if there's a way to get both Kempe and Kopitar, but like if you can get a third team into the trade, you can like I know, but if you can get a third team into the trade, you can get them to retain 75%, and you can squeeze both of that.
Yeah, there's some interesting guys you can fit under, even maybe a depth guy for them. Like those are the two most interesting, but I also another interesting one maybe would be Malkin.
He's not the same
6.1.
No, he's not.
I know he's not the same guy, but maybe in like a different deployment role. The guy I think would make the most sense, probably given where the team is at plus where what would fit the roster. I could see a guy like a Jaden Schwartz coming onto the team, or maybe someone along that tier kind of player. Well, or Anders Lee, I think, would be a good example. Like a guy who can just kind of maybe don't need him to be an elite scorer, but can kind of fill those little gaps there. But yeah, overall, there is that potential, which makes Florida really interesting. And I'm kind of curious to see how they distinguish with Barkov's injury and what they choose to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what they do with that cap space, because again, I think it does come down to can Barkov make it back for any point of the, like, he's out for the regular season already. Can he make it back for the playoffs? Essentially, is what it comes down to.
But yeah, just using Kempe as an example, if LA's out of it and they think they can't re-sign him at 5.5 with retention, you can definitely get to 3.
I think 2.75. You can get him for 2.75 essentially.
Yeah,
and if you want
another one, if Buffalo doesn't sign Alex Tuck to an extension and they're just okay with him going to free agency, Tuck's cap hit this year is 4.75. Right, so there are guys that are available at that range, which would be interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot they can do.
All right, team that's most likely to win the Cup final if you had to pick one from this division.
I mean, how can you?
Florida, right?
It has to be Florida. You can't disagree with the team that's won it the last 2 years and made it to the finals with that third, because they made it 3 years in a row. Right?
I think the only argument would be like, if you don't think Barkov's going to come back, that massively affects them. But yeah, I'm just going to go with Florida. I'm not. Again, remember how we talked about? And it's funny how everything ties in. We got this. I'm giving Florida the we got this benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, I mean they won the last two. So I mean they've won the last 2 cups. Like, what can you say?
Yeah. Player most likely to win MVP. I'm going to say Kucherov. Look, he should have.
Kucherov. He should have
won it 2 years ago.
He should have had one of these last 2 years, I think. Like, maybe not this year, but I feel like maybe not the past year, but like he should have at least had one at this point.
Kucherov's like the biggest victim.
Well, he has one MVP already, but he should have had a second one. I mean, it's like he should have had a second one.
He is definitely the biggest victim of like how the writers view him because of his antics. But like offensively, he's the best non-McDavid forward in the league.
And even then, like he's outscored.
He's outscored McDavid twice.
Yeah, like why not give it to the guy who can actually outscore?
But yeah, he's the most to me he's the most likely MVP. Matthews would be there too, but Kucherov's just a better player than Matthews.
Yeah, I think it's Kucherov over Matthews for sure. Like, I think the only way Matthews gets it if he gets like another 60-something goal a year. I think maybe that'd be the only other way he could get it at that point. And like, because I guess maybe some writers review it like, oh, he did it without Marner kind of thing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that and like if he guided them to the 1 seed, it's possible. But yeah, I have Cooch too. Yeah, overall, like again, this division's going to be interesting. See how it plays out. Again, most curious to see how Florida rolls, but we'll see how this goes. Was there anything else you want to talk about regarding this division, or?
No, not really. I think we covered pretty much everything. I mean, this. I mean, the Barkov injury did change like our projections a bit because like, so like it does kind of suck. We're not going to have like, I guess it sucks for hockey that like Florida's not going to be at full strength in the regular season. But I guess for my Leafs,
sucks the Leafs aren't good enough to take advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. There's still a lot sports-wise going on here. I think Seattle, Detroit are still playing, which is
wait, they are? What the fuck?